Warm welcome and good evening, good morning, depending on where you watch. We have our Driven by Diversity Cup running at Silverstone. When I talk about we, my name is Laura Luft and I have the fabulous Devin Sturdivant with me tonight. Welcome, Devin.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm hopped up on coffee, so we're gonna be good.
Perfect. We are excited to have this first Driven by Diversity Cup, and probably you give us more insights about it because we try to bring sim racing together no matter where people are and what kind of circumstances they sit in, because we want to give accessibility to everyone and give us an insight about how this all started and what we can expect for tonight.
Yeah, no problem. So, Driven by Diversity is a nonprofit organization where we're designed to really provide opportunities to underrepresented groups in areas of motorsport in places that you wouldn't expect. So, we work with universities, we work with some OEMs, we work with other businesses to help to introduce motorsport in kind of new and innovative areas. And sim racing is one of those areas, especially because sim racing has such a relative low barrier to entry compared to other forms of motorsport. It's a great avenue to introduce new people to the sport in ways that they didn't think possible before, especially if they're familiar with like other traditional racing games, but they don't really know much about like the industry itself or any of the terminology. Getting into sim racing is like that next step for them because they've come from maybe a Gran Turismo or a Forza where they just like cars, and they can step into kind of a more competitive, more technical, more informed space. And then from there, they can say, oh, I want to know what it's like in the real world, what that's like, and Driven by Diversity can help them because they know some of the background now. So.
Yeah, and this is really amazing because we connect the dots, and this is also important that people have a go-to person or a go-to community, as we want to call it. And
Exactly.
What we have today is actually crazy because we have around 40 teams or solo drivers which are racing tonight. We have 20 minutes qualifying, and then we have a 2-hour race with a mandatory stop. So this is pretty amazing. And some have already driven on other sims, as we know from the famous entry list. We go through it in a while. And yeah, it's great. And as you also mentioned, we are across the globe where people are sitting at the moment, being it in Russia, being it in California, in the States, in France, and some people are joining then as well from Great Britain or Germany. So this is pretty nice that we have a good community here out there, and this is a good partnership as well because you came up with Driven by Diversity and then worked out with the SimGrid, and also we have some other sponsors like of course Coach Dave Academy, Navigate Partners, and Init Esports. So it's just a bunch of people just getting this together. And you also have another thing we want to talk about. We had a great design for this event coming up from Kemi Sturge. Do you want to just talk about this as well?
Yes. No, Cammie's been fantastic, right? Not only is she a great just general designer, but she created the Driven by Diversity Cup logo that we've been using for all of the promotions, and we literally could not do it without her. It takes a village to run these sorts of events. And like you said, we have people from all over the world that run, esports teams and our club racers and our livery designers and driver coaches that all saw the value of doing this and all jumped in to participate. So, like I told the drivers in the drivers meeting, I'm really, really grateful that everyone has really jumped in to become involved because this is a fantastic example of like the power of the community when it's really focused on a single positive thing. It's really great.
Exactly, and also with the pandemic, as we know that sim racing has evolved so much, in that we just connect also the dots between the real racers who are joining tonight as well regarding the sim racing teams they just paired together. And it's just no matter who is driving there, we have also female drivers with male drivers paired up, and no matter where they sit from, it's just great to see that how they evolve throughout seasons as well, and how they progress in different kind of sims, as you told. And this is the great spirit they bring to life, and helping each other out also with setups and that stuff. And if you want to mention some names, we also have the SG Stern, which is like the Mercedes-Benz kind of world racing together. We have Team Cake, Angel Cake. These ones are driving in the more female racer series. We also have the Wild Things Racing trio coming up with their teams as well. So we have a lot of names, RAG Esports, you name it. And Devin, I mean, this is great that you also have Turn 1 Racing there, and also the big names in sport who actually want to have some fun tonight, because that's also what it's about, to have a good racing series. And if you have some questions, just pop that in the live streaming YouTube channel. We are happy to just get this started, and we are excited to get into the qualifying, as we wanted to talk that through with you, because we see some cars are on the track already just trying to nail down some times. And I'm pretty excited because we're in Silverstone. I mean, this is the home of motor racing, and we actually truly want to see how they progress tonight. And Devin, I mean, you are coming from karting, and you just said to me before that you were racing for 15 years and you had sim racing experience since 5 years and also coming into ACC since 2 years. So talk us through how you just made this passion and found the love for sim racing.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I have a background in karting and club racing cars. So for the last 15 years, I've raced competition go-karts in America, done some driver coaching there, done some competition there. And I've also always been a big sim racing fan, but I didn't really get into quote-unquote sim racing until about 5 or so years ago when I started racing leagues. Because I'm a competitive person, and someone told me there was a league, and I was like, all right, I'm in. And then as I started racing into more leagues, I wanted to know more about the community of people and join Discords and started finding different titles I wanted to race. And, I always ended up kind of being an intermediary between people who wanted to start doing things for the first time. So folks would come to me and say, hey, Davin, what you're doing seems really cool. How can I do that too? And I would join communities and start to coach them and help get them into sim racing and other things like that. So that's kind of how I ended up finding my feet in this sort of space. It's just something I really enjoy to do, and I love to try to get other people to be involved. And then when we created Driven by Diversity, of course, I waved my hand and said, hey, if it was a grassroots racing thing or a sim racing thing, I want to be involved to try to make it a thing. So here I am.
That's perfect. And actually, this is what we also want to bring to people. Just if you're afraid of, don't know what to do in sim racing, just approach everyone in the community and just try it out, because it's really great. And what we can see here, the drivers are all on track. The track is full because we raced together only in the GT3 championship in this Driven by Diversity Cup. And what we can say from the actual, what we see here right now with the Wild Things Racing M4 GT3 car. Actually on the grid we have 9 in total. So this is the brand which has been picked the most tonight. If we swap that through, we also have 4 Porsche, we have 4 McLaren, 3 Bentleys, and then we have also the Aston Martin, Audi, Ferrari, Mercedes, kind of where people try to pick that. But the least ones which been picked is the Nissan, the Lamborghini, the Honda and the Lexus. So quite not popular, but let's see how they just made the setup right for the night, because that's crucial here in Silverstone anyway. And we look at the timings, which they come in quite shortly if they just make out their last flying laps, where we are right down sitting in the car 297 with Yannick Ruoff. This is also nice to see how they prepared for the race, and I think they are quite nervous, some of them, because this is a big community event right now, and a lot of pressure on them because we want to see some good timings, Devin, do we?
Yeah, definitely. It's been nice to see a good diversity of manufacturers involved here too. Like you said, the M4 is a new car to ACC that's been very popular, but it's also really fast. But it's also good to see like the Lexus in there. Like I main the Lexus in ACC still because it's one of my favorites. So I'm happy to see the Lexus out there, and some Bentleys and Porsches. So you'll see different cars kind of reacting differently in different parts of the track here, which will be nice. And the strategies will play out differently, and the way they're driven will play out differently. And that's what makes this fun, right? It's not just one car, a spec series altogether. It's a big, diverse melting pot of cars. So it'll be good.
Yeah, that's also good, because sometimes we normally see that people tend to take one car out of the other, and we just had a bunch of fields where we only had Porsche and Audi in it. Now, right now we have actually a good diversity of cars, and as we can look at the weather predictions, we are on the sunny side of life, so this is pretty good for tonight. We don't have rain expected, so actually quite good. But is it actually one of your favorite tracks in Silverstone?
Actually, it is. It took a little while for me to get up to speed with Silverstone, but I love it. It's got a good balance of corners. It's a track that everyone generally knows, no matter what title you come from. It's not too technical, but it's still got its technical sections of it, and it's fast. So it'll be a nice wide space for multiple cars to be able to run side by side, run together, and it's not going to be like super too tight like a Brands or a Zolder that can be kind of difficult with so many cars on track at once. So it'll give people space to be able to race around. So it'll be good.
Exactly, as you mentioned also when we just turned around now with the Intercops, and now switching back to Ben Brown in his Aston Martin, one of the 3 on the grid. Sometimes it's hard to find the good breaking point, and we had seen some 3 wides also in Silverstone quite often. I hope that this will be fun tonight if everybody got some space, because as you see, it's really full, even with 30 cars around, 40 cars around. It's just a full grid, what we can definitely say. And if we look at the timings which are popping in right now, we have a 156. Funnily, I just watched them in the training, and they had a 158, and normally I think that we see also 155 depending on the setups, but they trained well, and I guess that also everybody together is quite strong in this sim racing, because as we drop down the name list and the entry list, most of them are pretty pro and are enjoying this. And also really great is to see that we have so many people trying it solo.
Yeah, definitely. I watched in the practice leading up to this how many laps a lot of the teams put in before the event, which is great because it means that we'll have a really competitive event and a bunch of people are really, taking the racing seriously, which is fun, but also having a good time. So I'm expecting to see some quick times in qualifying and also some really quick times in the race.
Also some drifting, that's what we can definitely say. I mean, I tried to find some space on the track. This is also tricky, depending on where you are. And if you look at these famous corners, Maggots, Baggots, this is a tricky point where some people have maybe some issues with their car. And also if you go down to Wolf and then in the club corner, there are some points where you have to be really precise on the braking. I think that we will see some good maneuvers under the track. As well, we have still some yellows around the corner where people are trying to find their times. But if we look at it in general, the timings will be dropped for some teams, that's for sure. And if we look on the first one, it's a BMW. Darren King, he is racing with the number 88 for his team RAG Esports, together with Martin van Lozenoord, also with their great time. And we look at Joe Dallas, he is racing in the number 16. It's pretty nice to see how they try to also help each other getting the setup right for this track, because it's sometimes a bit technical and we see who is progressing. And now at the moment it's the 200. They just jumped now to the second place, and this is Kieran Prendergast who is racing together for the Butterfly Effect Esports team with Oscar Sandberg, actually a person you might know. He is racing also on the Nürburgring Nordschleife, where they have some endurance experience. And I think, although this is a sprint race, do you think that regarding the strategy, because we have one mandatory pit stop, it's important that they actually just take it easy at the start?
I mean, you'd say that, but they're not gonna, right? It's a short race, so people are going to be sprinting from the word go, and I think that'll be fun to watch. If the race was a little bit longer, I think you'd see a little bit more tire management and fuel consumption management and other things like that. But, the race in this case, I think is going to be a pretty dramatic affair, which will be fun. Yeah, it's good for us, and then good for the pockets, because luckily nothing can happen if we just look down to Memes Go Racing. This is Nicolas Martin, who is a Spanish driver, driving together with a British one, Carl Stack, in his McLaren. Now just jumping back to Alex Coder. So we have most of the teams probably a bit trying right now how they can push their timings faster, and you see some are just a bit of trying to push down the racing line, the best lap times, and it's tricky because the competitive is really high, and we are lucky that actually we can also do something good, because it's not about trying to bring diversity to life and get more people involved in the sport, which we really like, but also tell us about how we can donate actually for the good cause, because that is great that we with this race also get a good community going and maybe can support some other stuff. No, definitely. So one of the benefits of Driven by Diversity is that we're a 501c3 nonprofit. So all the activities that we focus our attention towards, all of the donations that come towards Driven by Diversity go directly back into the programs that we're working with. So like we're working with the NHRA and their YES program to help get college kids and high school kids to events to learn more about drag racing. We're going to be working with like Global Time Attack and kind of other events like that to get more awareness spread for young groups, young children and young groups to enter into motor racing. So all the donations that go towards Driven by Diversity help for certain activities, like making sure that there's a bus for them to travel on, making sure that they have food when they're actually at the events, making sure the volunteers are actually properly housed and other things like that. So it's very, very useful, and we really, really appreciate all the folks who end up donating for these events, because they directly benefit within the program. So
if you want to hit the button, go to the website, Driven by Diversity, and then you just find out where to donate for the good cause. And from the drivers on the grid, actually, which one is your favorite, or at least which one you just give the thumbs up?
That's a loaded question. Well, fortunately, several of the drivers I know are friends of mine from other leagues. So like Eric Neville or Joel Dallas or Luca Lishton, we race together in other leagues and other things. So I can't really pick a favorite because they'd be mad. But there are other drivers I know, like Denise Pope, who I've always admired because she's just super quick, and that I watch a lot of her streams and other things as well. So, and Oscar Sandberg, and I've watched a lot of his driving, and, so there are a lot of folks in here where I've seen them do other things that I couldn't really pick a favorite. I'm spoiled for choice today because there's a lot of talent all condensed in one race. So.
The good thing is, as we don't want to do the commentator scores, we just say we want to vote for everyone, so that we'll sign off, right?
Yeah. If I pick one of them and they don't do well, they're going to call me and be like, Davin, why did you curse me? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, when we look at our famous drivers, I think we also, when we look at the 12th position, which we see right now, the 199, where we see a nice drift here from the Nissan, just trying to avoid the curbs, but then also then hitting the wall. Have to fix that car, I guess. We see that it will be fine. Where we see that they are just having a hard time with their Mercedes, but the drill drivers to keep up. Fabian Fabeck and also Lucy Treffs. He was racing the ADAC GT Masters and also is the GT4 European champion since 2019. And these drivers, that's what they always say, and this is so funny. And as I experienced this myself when I just tried to do sim racing in 2018 the first time, it's completely different from these aliens we see out there, right? You have to prepare for everything quite in detail, and it's a bit different to when you race in a real car. So it's great to see how they just make the transition also from racing in sim racing before and then just jump into a real car. This is amazing to see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things that I've always been just amazed by is that sim racers understand the fundamentals really, really quickly because they can put in a lot of laps to really practice on the fundamentals. And although they're missing some of the kinesthetic feel of the car, they understand fundamentally what the car is moving around and needs to do. So once you put them in a car, they're just like, oh, I now can put 2 and 2 together, and they get up to speed really, really quickly. It's the same with anything else, right? You're just putting in laps so your brain gets the experience, and then when you try something different, you're just applying a variation on a theme. So that's why I always advocate for a lot of people to get into sim racing to just get some additional seat time, because yeah, it's not the same as driving a real car, but every activity is different. So you just take what you need and use it for the other thing you're doing. So.
Exactly. When we watch Brian Mandeville from Caribbean Sim Motorsport Team CSM, also nice livery, that's what we always sometimes see. It's not just about getting into detail with sim racing, but also having this kind of hours. You spend time on setting your setup right, but also spending time on making these amazing liveries on the car.
Yeah. And we're fortunate to have several people in the field who are really good livery designers. And, you'll see them in a lot of the effort that they put in the attention to detail with a lot of their liveries, which is cool because I have a lot of friends who maybe aren't so much into racing, but they are definitely into the artistic side. And they can help participate in other events and with other teams by designing liveries or logos or other branding things. Cammie's a perfect example for that, right? She's fantastic at designing a lot of really dynamic designs that she's been able to make a small business out of and, generate some income and create a livelihood out of it, which I think is awesome. And a lot of people don't really think about that when they get into sim racing. They just think that they're pictures on a car, but in a lot of cases they're representing brands of actual businesses and organizations that are doing things. And so it's really cool to see.
Definitely, and if we just watch the timings, because we have still 7 minutes to go, people are driving to push their car to the front rows, because it's important, as you say. I mean, if we do have the rolling start, it's always better to just be still in the front. So what we can definitely say is that the 1:56.847, this is the time which has not been picked yet up by somebody else, because still Darren King in his BMW with the 88 from the team Init Esports. I mean, they are still in the top. And then if we look down, Filippa Bukida, I hope that I just pronounced everybody right, otherwise you can punish me afterwards. She's driving in the number 8 car, so also RAG Esports together with Timea Benchik. They were driving also in the More Female Races program. You can definitely say how just they really jumped into driving professionally at this level. They just really now on the 2nd position, and they are fast. I mean, if we look down to the timings, only the top 4 right now, including with Neville and Eric Neville in the 4th place, they are within 1 second. But after that, you just really drop down to 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds. This is a really big time in sim racing. But as you can see, how difficult it is to just beat those pros. I mean, they just do that every day.
Definitely. But the nice thing about it is that even within the top 20, there's a fairly close margin between them. So even though there's a little bit of a gap to the leaders, they're going to be close to each other. So there'll still be some pretty good racing involved. And I think that's one of the things in sim racing that some people sometimes overlook when they're first getting started is, those who are fast typically have put in a lot of time. And so it just takes some time to get up to that pace. But you can still have a lot of fun as you're learning and figuring things out. So, it's good to always be racing with a group of people who are relatively close to your speed, because then you can learn from them. So a lot of these guys are going to be learning from the faster folks, even as they're racing around, because they'll see what's possible in the car and pick things up as they go.
Yeah, exactly. And also Daryl Young, who is driving with Aurelian Cross together in the Wild Things Racing team. Some teams are really progressing and having 20 drivers at the moment, also bringing more teams together. And this is great because you can, no matter if you're still enemies on track, so to say, you have buddies to train with, right? No matter what car they pick, at least you can share some setups, some ideas. And now if we just look at Denise Pope as well with Wild Things Racing, and also Evan Atafas and Lisa Louise, they all on the same car. So this is great if you train together and if you have the knowledge from someone who's saying, well, I just tried this and this setup and let's make it happen. Some just get it from Coach Dave Academy, of course, and you did also some coaching for some of the drivers, do you?
Yes, I did. So I did some coaching for some of the drivers in the Molfirmo Racers series, and then also for some of the drivers in the field like Eric and Joel. They're also part of a few other leagues that we're a part of where I do some community coaching. And so, one of the things that I'm a big proponent of, especially when people are getting first into sim racing, is raising the level of table stakes of understanding of what we're doing with our cars. Because when you're first entering racing, there's a lot of information and it can be a lot to absorb. And if you don't have a place you can go to kind of first understand, which is what's happening on track and like the basic fundamentals, it can be overwhelming. And then after you get to a certain level of proficiency, then we can start to point you to more dedicated coaching services like Coach Dave Academy, because you've got a certain fundamental understanding of what you're doing, so that it's more helpful for you when you're really trying to find those last few seconds, or you're really trying to understand a setup change. So I do a lot of community coaching and community clinics and a few other spaces in the sim racing community, just to help people to be like, this is what the racing line looks like. This is, kind of how the setup generally works. This is what good braking looks like. So that when it's time for them to get individual coaching, they know what they want to look for rather than just feeling overwhelmed all the time. So.
Yeah, that's making it a bit better. And also if we look at this one, this is driven by Luis Argitu, and this is Smooth Ops Racing. I think about Smooth Operator, I guess they just took it from our famous Formula 1 drivers, so to say.
Right.
I like that, how they just even find not the details in their setup, but also having a nice livery which is diversity driven. That you can definitely say from this one, having a nice color here, the rainbow, which is kind of fantastic, that they bring out the message as well, that we have this diversity car, and just nice to see that how they play it out in detail. They just are sitting right now in the 25th place, probably not what they expected to be, but maybe that's also sometimes a strategy from some teams. They say, well, we just don't want to be in the place from 15th down to 20s, or let's say 22, because sometimes accidents happen at the start, and if you smooth through, then if you even are in the back, you feel yourself up maybe in top 10 and at the moment, and or at the end of the race. So it's all about strategy, and hopefully we don't see a crash, but you never know, as it can be tight. And as we can see from the timings, it's good that you are not alone on the track and you have always the best buddy to fight with, because if you're close together, there is always 3 or 4 packs who drive together, and you're not just driving for 1 hour and don't see anybody. So this is good that if you are around yourself racing with the others, that's always nice, because you don't want to have a boring race in the end for yourself. Sometimes people like to be in the lead and don't want to be pushed too much, but I think tonight everybody has a buddy to fight with.
Personally, I think some of the car strategies are to have really nice liveries, so when the race starts, we're all a little distracted as we're turning into the corner, and then they can just get away. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem for some of the cars, because you'll turn in and be like, oh, that's a nice car. Oh, he's ahead of me. Oh, no. And then he'll just get away.
That can happen.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. And you have to be cautious in that sense. If we look then, we still have not so many changes in the front, because all our top four is still the same as we had before. Some people are already in the pit. They think they are just fine with their timings, and we are sitting with Blake Michon actually in the car. He's driving for Cultured Connoisseurs. I hope that my French is helping this in the 4-3 car, and sitting in 38th place, so hopefully he can at least get some timings up. And he's driving together with Arjun Lakshmi, and he's actually sitting in the States, if I'm not mistaken, coming from India. So it's nice to see, and they just picked the Nissan, the one and only Nissan in the field.
Yep. I actually know those guys personally, and they have a pretty good sense of humor. So I know the reason they picked the Nissan is they're going to want to have a fun time. That car is fast, but also temperamental, so they just want to stay engaged the entire time. So they picked that car. For sure.
Unfortunately, he's writing right now in the chat that he's out of the race, so probably then he is driving alone. his component. But yeah, at least you keep your thumbs up, please. So that's important, because what we also sometimes see in chats is really amazing to see that we have also Ivan Hofelar just joining. She's also one of the big supporters, More Female Races, so that you have somebody who's really cheering you up in the chat, and also not with you on the team's channel sometimes, or in Discord. So you really have people and fans around. This is giving everybody a positive sign. And Josie Austin also really good driving in our Team Cake Angel Cake, and she was actually the M champion in the More Female Races Series 3, so she's right now in the 23rd position. Push Josie. Rydion Lloyd Davis is the teammate, so hopefully with a push they just can gain a bit more points throughout the race. And quali is over. That's for sure. That's what we can say. Maybe we see some last timings dropping, but what we see right now, we are finished, and BMW is leading in front of a row of McLaren. This is surprising, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big swing. The McLaren, especially since 1.8, has gotten really fast. So it's especially in open air, it's very difficult to be in front of that car. So that was a really good lap.
So pretty nice ones, what we definitely can say. And many have practices. I'm a bit shocked, by the way, that we don't have, normally we see the Porsche Armada in the front and also the Audi, but I guess the bob has changed a bit for some of the cars, so they're quite down below the track. 27th place for the Audi, and the Aston Martin also normally is a good car, and the Boatley, as we normally want to call it, quite far down the line, but 9th place at least, so maybe that stays. And look, if Joel is just doing another one, sitting now with the Dallas M Sport in 8th place. But looking forward to the race. That's what I can definitely say. How excited is your level?
Oh, I'm super excited. I'm just super excited that everyone is here and having a good time and racing. So, I'm always a big fan for a good race. I'm always going to be excited.
That's perfect. Then normally, if I just ask you, how nervous are you in front of the start? Is it always the same, or are you more like chilled out and say, well, this comes in the race that you just got more excited?
Kind of depends on where I start, right? If I'm starting more near the front, then there's probably a little bit more of a nerve because I want to do well. But I'm also more relaxed because I qualified in front of people, so it's a bit of a mixed. If I qualify in the middle, then there's a little bit of you're in the danger zone, I would say, because there's just a lot of cars around you, and so you have a little less control of what can happen to you. And then if you qualify in the back, then at least you can see everything in front of you. So that's good. But you have a long race ahead of you. So I think it kind of just depends on where folks have qualified and kind of how comfortable they feel like they're going to be over the race and how consistent they can be. And we'll see how it shakes out.
That's true. And then we can talk in the race. What's your favorite position? Being in the lead or being the follower or the hunter, so to say?
Well, maybe at the end of the race, leading is always my favorite. But during the race, I don't mind chasing somebody for a while. So
that's good. Maybe even the pusher up.
Yeah, just pass one car one time at the end would be great. Let's just do that, right?
Okay. Being even with that. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, we just looked down to Silverstone in the famous corners, which always is a bit of a braking fanatic point, sometimes kind of tricky in the loop entry, and also Brooklands, Luffield. This is where we are having some maybe overtaking opportunities. And the Valve corner, getting down into Club is also sometimes a bit funny in terms of getting onto the curbs. This is what we also sometimes see, that people are really trying to push it hard and then they just spin around. But now in the qualification, we have seen that this is pretty good. Also in the stability of the cars. I haven't seen so many off tracks besides some of them, but this is completely fine as you try to push down to the last minutes of your best lap time. And then, we hopefully have a nice 2 hours race and people donate, have questions, have fun with us. And we just really are excited to have everybody watching tonight, because this is our first time Driven by Diversity Cup here for getting the word out, bringing people together, making it a positive one, that we just try to bring more people into the sport and having this equality in sim racing and also real racing and around the globe. This is the important message, what we want to push out right now.
Well said. You nailed it. As far as the start of the race, I think the big thing we're going to see is who anticipates and who doesn't, right? Yeah. Because with all the cars together, anticipation is going to be a huge thing. And, all your braking points are different. You're going to have multiple cars around you. There's a lot of dynamic things happening. And so that's why race restarts are so exciting because it's not the same as when you're hot lapping by yourself in qualifying. And the drivers who are especially are, second, third, fourth, fifth rows back are going to need to adjust for the cars in front and really be able to kind of work that adjustment in over the first few laps of the race so that they can kind of get up to speed over time as they're battling with people. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And also what we didn't see, this is also when we just look at the chat right now, people, even if they can't join and hope you are all well then or getting well, they just at least give some advice or tips and training or join even the training although they don't race. And this is what I really like in terms of spirit throughout the different teams we have on the track. And I really like that we give everybody the access now to really also have a nice stream to get people watching. And sometimes even if I just show that to other friends of mine, they say, oh, is this not live? I say, yeah, it's live, but it's sim racing. Or what is that? And you just try to explain that. Yep. And it's not like a game. It's really the simulation, which we always like to have it more realistic as we can. And this is definitely with ACC the case. And although we also race on different ones, I really enjoy the action and also the details and the setup work you can do. How was the transition for you then from karting to sim racing in terms of setting up? Because did you have the time to learn it properly? Because some are also engineers who are racing today, where we just look at the track plan. Maybe you just go first, and then I just go back to the question because we don't want to miss out who is in the first. And this is Darren King with the number 88. RAG Esports team with Martin van Lozenaar together. Then on the second place we have Timea Benchik driving together with Filippa Bukida in the car. Then we have the 200 is Kieran Prendergast together on the Butterfly Effect Esports team with Oscar Sandberg. Pretty good up in the rank. Also Peter O'Brien with 124. It's JDoc SimSport Mac and Cheese together with Eric Neville, so hope he's fine with that. We have Edgar Augusto in the number car 40 and SCCA Sim Prior together with Josie Arthur. Driving on the sixth grid is Janek Ruff with the 297 car, which is a new joiner on my entry list, but we will just get to that later. Daryl Young is on the 87 with Wild Things Racing Apex together with Aurelian Cross. Then afterwards followed by Joel Dallas in the number 16 car. Together on the grid afterwards is Lucas Lichten with a lone driver, Team Iris. He has to fight the way alone. Pretty good in the number position 9. Nicholas Martin behind it in the number 10, which is a 69 car. Memes Go Racing together with Kyle Stack. Afterwards we have the 11th place. It's 138 car, the first Porsche. Sebastian Handler, also quite known in some of the races we have seen. Team Cake, Sacher, typically that's perfect, with Mikko Lepala together in this car. Fabian Fabeck from the SG Stern with the 190 together with Lucy Trefts, and he has to take the start. Maria Kryshkova, also perfect, driving with Tom Shipson together in the Team Cake Latte Cake number 14. We have then later on trying to push hard in the 101. This is turn 1 SSR, Aya Jones with Brian van Beusekom together in their car. Denise Pope driving it alone. As we know, Wild Things Racing La Pope can do it all the way down to the next Mercedes in the grid. It's the position 16, Joost Leune, the 37 team half practice hero. I think he's full practice and complete hero, what we can definitely say. Number 20, this is the car on the 17th grid. Wild Things Racing Simhound, Alex Corridor has to take it alone. Josie Austin with the 137 Team Cake Angel Cake together with Ridian Lloyd Davis. The next BMW in the 19th position is Evan Netafas, the 74 car. Wild Things Racing together with Lisa Louise in the BMW. Ben Brown in the Aston Martin with the 2020. Own It Racing also has to take this race alone. Matthias Freitas, the 128 NCSSA Compraia together with Matthäus Nolli in this car. Niels Hansen is the 198 SG Stern Green with Martin Schnicke in this car. Ryan Mandeville is the 246 together with nobody because he has really the Caribbean vibe and he is just chilling it out, driving alone. So hopefully he can give us some good pina colada later on.
I like you.
The 417 is Smooth Ups. The Smooth Operators is Steve Andres and Luis Argitsu, followed by Kirk Hurth with the 737 not on my entry list, but driving a BMW, that's perfect. Lars Breitenstein behind the same 127 is DTX GT3 Racing with Leander Siebenhaar on this car. The Ferrari is Nick Goodfeldt with the 25 team Fast Track doing this race again alone. Juan Prieto, the 151 World of Sim Racing team, also nice with David Serra together, and Simon Capelli with the 27 is driving for also not on my list, but he is definitely in the Bentley, and Luis Acosta, the 709 604 Alumni Racing with Kyle Tucker. Later on, Ayun is not driving, so I think we have it all. And a good list, a bunch of people we have seen so far. And coming back to the question, of preparing the race and trying to be in the lead. You said you want to just race with everybody from behind and being in the lead then later on. But from the transition of karting, how about setting up for sim racing? Because it's completely different and you can't relate to really what the mechanical feelings are on the car, but on the go-kart. But we can definitely say that some teams also in pro racing, they make it really nice that they can map the actual race car setups to the sim car.
Yeah, it is completely different. And that's where having good communities was so helpful, right? I mean, I have some driving experience from other things, so it gave me a little bit of a leg up when I was first getting started. But there are some specific sim racing just tips and tricks that you just don't know that you don't know. And so being able to, be part of leagues and ask questions and work with driver coaches and just race with people to kind of understand a little bit more about what the car is doing and how to interpret what you know from one discipline to another really helped a lot and still does help. Right? It gives you a little bit of confidence that you kind of know what the pedal and steering wheels are supposed to do. But then as you get into sim racing, there's a certain amount of how do you exploit the car, how do you exploit the track that really just comes with seat time and experience and learning from other people. I mean, I coach people who are way faster than me, and it's great because then I get to learn from them as they're learning from me, because I'm normally teaching them certain things and they're teaching me certain things, and we're all getting faster. So.
It's definitely true. And also the team which we've seen right now, turn 1 is Valkyrie, Kirkhurst and Jessica Pelletier. I guess I forgot about them, but they are on the 25th position, starting right from the back. Let's see how fast this will go in the race. And I know that they are pretty strong in terms of this one. As we can say from the chat, vamos. Yeah, we just really want to try to get everybody on board. We've seen somebody off track in the back of the field. This is kind of unfortunate. Or if they had to go back, now they're just batting with a Ferrari back on track right now. So this is kind of crucial to warm up your tires and also getting the brakes up to temperature. This is kind of where it's coming down to the critical parts, and people have to drive smooth together. How important it is actually for you to just be easy on the start in terms of not trying to push too far, because as we see, it's tricky then if you just lose the car. That's what we have seen in some other races as well.
Definitely. I mean, the warm-up lap is the lap that you use to prepare the car for the race, right? Like, you've been preparing yourself throughout practice and qualifying in your head, but now this is the time that you need to get your car kind of ready. So you're warming up brakes, you're warming up tires, right? You're really kind of getting the car kind of comfortable and settled in just to make sure there aren't any last-minute surprises. And it's a good time to kind of get yourself psyched up, especially if you're about ready to start a race from the middle or you're going to be in a big fight, right? It's a good time to kind of just take a deep breath and kind of get yourself all ready to get going. So that's what you'll see a lot of the drivers here doing, is just kind of getting kind of prepared for the start and getting all bunched up and kind of settling a little bit of the nerves. Because once the green flag drops, right, they'll all click into autopilot and start battling. So.
It's true, and also if you leave the gap a bit too long, then you might miss it, because we are having a rolling start, which means you have to be close together now. Everybody tries to find their place on track, the best position to warm up their equipment and getting ready, and we see them fully lined up. And also nice to see how colorful we are tonight in terms of the liveries. It's amazing, right?
Yeah, it really is.
We have to pick our favorites later on in terms of livery.
Oh, dear. Okay, we might have to do that. There are a few. I got a chance to review through all the liveries before the race started, and there were a few that I was like, oh, that's in my top 5. Oh, that's in my top 3. There are some really nice designs out there today. So, for sure. I'm
always liking to do a design award, actually. That's what, it's getting a bit close and tidy here in terms of people trying to find their place back. But yeah, that's what I always like to do. You have to just get the best livery a design award. Should we not do this?
No, we have 2 hours. I think we can figure it out in 2 hours. We might have to have a battle for best livery, but I think we'll figure it out. We'll get there. get there for sure. Maybe the chat can help. I think chat should, when they see a good livery, should tell us what we should think, and then we should do that instead. So
that's a good one. That's a good one. Let's go for that one.
Yeah, chat, help us out, chat. Figure it out, chat.
Where we are down now with the woodcut, last corner in front of the starting line. I might take the one and then I just jump back directly to you for the race start. We just do it together. You will watch if there are some any incidents, and I try to just lead for the first one, and then I'm happy to hand over to you. We see them in perfect double file where they're just trying to waiting for the race to start, and now the green flag has evolved and everybody is out on track. We have a good kind of clearance for everybody, and it's still 3 or 4 cars together and nobody has spun so far, which is pretty good. Everybody got their space. There are 3 wide also going into the first corner, which is great, and then we definitely see that some of them try to defend their place, and looking forward that we don't have any kind of problems. But in the first place we definitely can say that already the jump start, or that the job better, was from Timea Benchik. And the companion, which, I mean, they made it pretty well, because Filippa is now in the first place. And we have seen what is happening with our number 88 car.
And the top 3 opened up a decent gap. Yeah. The top 3 actually opened up a pretty decent gap for being so close. They're all in a nice little file, so that's good. It's good to see if they work together, if they fight each other.
Of course, and we had definitely not any incidents so far, so this was a nice and clean start. This is what we definitely want to see, and great to see that we have so many drivers trying to defend their line. And still, I'm wondering what happened to our number 1, which was on the grid, but still then before the 200 car is directly behind each other. We have an off track here from Matthias Nolli with the 34. They just are in the back of the field right now with the 128 car. A little bit of spun on this point, but the car looks quite, at least not completely changed, but and the internet connection is always key today, I think. Then also, if we look at this car is kind of turned, and the internet problem was definitely horrible for Darren King, because he just dropped, unfortunately, which is kind of really like a horror if you have a disconnect at this time. I mean, this is the worst thing, and this is like an engine failure in real life, and you just have a disconnect before the race. So I don't know if we can get them back in, but this is kind of, if you just already prepared for so much time to get into this race and then you just completely can't start it, this is kind of terrifying. But hopefully they can come back in at one point.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was a good analogy that you had there too, because I think, as you're getting into sim racing, kind of understanding the computer internet portion of racing is just as important as the actual driving of the car racing, and solid internet is crucial for racing with people online. So, definitely a struggle.
But good that we definitely see that the race action is super clean, and we have no live stewarding, but the good thing is we don't need it, because right now as we see that's going wide, this is pretty good, isn't it?
She says 3 minutes into a 2-hour race. Yes, I'm sure that'll be fine. Totally will be fine.
Of course, being optimistic at one point, right?
I like it. Everything is fine.
Exactly. No, you just have to pull that through now. And this is what we normally, and you did the driver briefing. What did you tell them? Just make it nice and clean? Yeah?
Well, I asked them to be nice, and then told them that they would probably completely ignore me, so they seems to be they're following the rules, so that's great. I reminded them that it is a 2-hour race, which is short for an enduro, but long for a sprint. Well, that's good.
And a good thing is, as we positively can notice, that the 88 is back in the race. So how about that? I mean, they just lost a bit some time, but what we also can say, if they're super fast, and where we see a little bit of spin from Brian Mandeville, which is having a bit damage on the McLaren, it's great to see that they come back. And what we also can say, definitely in sim racing, and if we go 3 wide into the corner with Alex Corder here on the outside, I mean, the racing is quite aggressive at this point, but nice that they just make it through, because you have to make now points. This is important if you see that there is an opportunity and a gap where you can go through. And you see what we can definitely say, 4 people, 5 people, 3 wide, and also 2 wide, side by side, just making it clean. This is what we want to see, that they now have the chance to drop their places or just get back to the place they should normally be. That's amazing to see. And also that people, even though they have connection issues, or if they just are really completely frustrated because they're not having the points in the place they want to be, making it nice and just race. That's what we definitely want to say.
And the race is long, right? The race is long. So even if you do lose a little bit at the start, there's plenty of time, even with just a single pit stop, to try to make things up. Cars will be battling. They'll slow each other down. Right? You can make things happen. So it'll be good to see.
Exactly, and if we see some replays coming in where we have this kind of touch between the 137, they come together, and take out some more. Yeah, this is unlucky punch in this point. But yeah, this is what you cannot do. I mean, if you just have this kind of spin-off and then you just take somebody else out, this is kind of unfortunate at this point. 137 from the Team Cake, Angel Cake being also dropped back. This is, where you sometimes cannot avoid it in a sense, but it's frustrating, I know, but we know from the teams they're pretty strong in their mindset and they try to just fight back. Looking at another replay where the Aston Martin got caught up in the traffic, kind of having a little bit of punch and spinning with the 128. Yeah, this is how it can be. Matthias Freiters, and this is what we have seen Matthias Nolli in his kind of ditch. And I mean, this foot doesn't look nice, so hopefully he can just repair it.
Yeah, well, and it's hard too because depending on how many cars are rendered to, you sometimes don't see the car till it's too late, and you know, it's kind of a sim racing incident after that initial spin because the car just appears sometimes. So that's rough.
But what we can definitely say in the first place, I mean, we have the 1.58375 seconds. This is actually the top time from Filipa Bukida in the first position where we are in the battle still. And if you see at the track map on the right hand side, this is kind of crazy how close they are together. And you can't make a mistake now because still, even if you try to push too much, you just lose 5 seconds and also maybe 5 places. It's kind of a rough decision at the moment. You have to be consistent now trying to defend your space, and if you have the opportunity, of course, if we see them close together, Sebastian Handler and Alex Kurder with Breitenstein in this not even 1 second window, they of course try to find a space.
With these short races, it's still a sprint. Like, you basically have a race broke up in 2 halves and they're 2 sprints, right? So you don't have a lot of margin to really be hanging around. You have to just kind of drop the hammer and go and try to be clean and tidy. You know, one thing I told a lot of the drivers before the race is find a dance partner. And if you can pair up with somebody and just kind of get some cool, consistent laps so you can open up a bit of a gap, we can start battling once we have a bit of a margin. So like the drivers in first and second have a little bit of a gap that they can play with. But from third back, they don't have that yet. And so they're going to need to, you know, work together to be able to get away. Otherwise, they're going to always be in this train.
Exactly, but what we can say, this is what you said, you have to find a dance partner. This is a pretty good expression because I always think you are just in a taxi or you just try to find a train together. Because that's what we know from karting, right? So if you just find a buddy on this in the karting track, you're always just hanging there, even for hours. Even if you drive 2 hours in the car, that's amazing because you have fun because you just try to close the gap in front of to the others and you just don't ruin your tires, and this is what some people try to do here, and also maybe defending the place. Alex Cordo still is having the time of his life because he has to watch the mirrors and also try to push forward where we jump to the 6th place, trying to close the gap for Alex Aurelian Cross and also Peter O'Brien directly trying to close the gap to the podium at this point, but we still have enough time to just sort that out because I guess it's still not so clear even close to the end of the race, because I think the strategy guys are really important playing a role tonight as well to see where they come out back on track, because if you see that if they're now close together and you have a bad pit stop and you come directly middle in the field of the pack, you have to just overtake everyone. This is taking so much time. That's why it's also important when you do the pit stop.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, there are some drivers here that have teammates and they'll be running similarly livered cars, so hopefully those guys will know to kind of give each other some space. But even in a battle, there's sort of a polite agreement between good skilled racers that, you know, you don't hurt me and I don't hurt you, and, you know, we'll try to find a good space that we can battle safely together when it's ready. So hopefully the drivers can kind of read each other's body language and figure out how to position themselves in a place that says like, hey, you're going fast, I'm going fast, let's, you know, go fast together for a little while, and then when the time is right, we'll have a good battle.
For sure. And also if we look at the number 200 Butterfly Effect Esport, Kieran Prendergast is still trying to push hard for his teammate, being maybe on top, but still already the gap, look at this, is 2.8 seconds, where we have a spin-off for Luc Michon, and hopefully the car is still running, because the only Nissan on the track, we have to get them running again. We maybe get a replay what's happening there, but also the unfortunate stuff, if you really maybe have a chance not to check your mirrors, or if there is a problem, you're just maybe also busy with doing the team chats and trying to figure out what you can push for, and then there is an unfortunate second where you just miss it, but we will definitely probably get back to what happened to our Butterfly car, where we just are back still with the horrible Nissan looking
that
miserable.
That butterfly at that car is up there for my top 5 favorite liveries, so it's in the running.
At least, yeah, but this is horrible if you just can't get it fixed together. So hopefully we can, make sure that they are working well. And keeping fingers crossed from everyone to just finish the race in how they want to finish. Peter O'Brien probably want to take a lead for the podium, because in front of them is the number 3 car, because it's third on the position. And we look what happened to the Nissan with the 43. They just come out quite nicely, and then there's probably, hopefully, nothing which has happened there in terms of contact. They look quite nice at this time and just trying to be close, and then they missed it.
Oh no! Yeah. Oh no!
And then you get your ditch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of anticipation of the car behind the Nissan, right? Because he dropped a tire, but he also got collected by the person behind him. That's what we were talking about with anticipation, that, if a car in front of you is doing something, you've got to let it finish doing its thing, right? And that can really affect your race if you're too close when a car gets out of shape. So that's just bad luck.
At least we can say the car is good for drifting, but I want to see it race.
Yeah. Well, the damage they got was also on the rear, too, so I'm sure as they're getting the dirt off their tires and are getting back on the track, they're still trying to figure out what's working and what's broken. So hopefully the damage isn't too bad and they're able to get him back into the field.
Back to the 5th position, Wild Things Racing in their nice machine BMW M4 GT3, trying to defend the 5th place, because after them is also quite a battle for it, and you can see all of them are close together from the top 2 until top 4, and in front of them is Peter O'Brien. Just trying to close the gap, and afterwards we have Eder Augusto, I apologize for that, trying to also get the gaps together. I mean, if we look at this, the position 2 is completely not sorted at this time. Of course, we can't say that, but some are aliens and drive away, but now they still battle for this, which is really nice. And also in the midfield they have a lot of work to do, and we jump back to Alex Corder, also Wild Things Racing, having a good time hanging in there with the Boatley, so good stuff from them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, once the race starts to pan out a little bit and we start to get a little bit more of lap traffic and a few things, we'll see how that affects the leaders. Because I do know some drivers are really fast running by themselves, but maybe traffic might be the thing that holds them up a bit. So that might, affect the battle for the lead in a way. I do know in 4th, Peter, I race with him very often, Peter O'Brien, and he is persistent. So he will stay on this podium battle from the beginning of the race to the end. I have no doubt about that. So it'll be exciting to watch him kind of stay in the hunt there. He's got a good fast teammate in Eric Neville too. Both of those guys are, let's call them assertive qualifiers and assertive racers. So we'll see some dramatic driving from them for sure.
Yeah, but it's good, and if you know them already, then you know probably how they strategize the race, and they go with mac and cheese. I think they're just cheesy and easy, right?
Peter's strategy is unique because he constantly just says drive car vroom vroom, and I think that's what he's doing right now, is just driving the wheels off that thing. Peter's pretty fast. So.
Perfect. And if you are fast, did you just look fast at YouTube because you got a shout out? So Devin, you just probably take now a little bit of speaking of leading us through the next rounds.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So I think as we're coming up here, following along with Alex, right? Like, I think the biggest thing as we're coming up into this following section is really being able to kind of pace with these cars in front, right? Because as we're making our way down under braking, there's going to be that concertina effect of the cars in front at a slower speed than what you are at, and your ability to adapt to them is going to be super, super crucial in order to make sure that you don't run into the back of them. Especially there's a little bit of a snap there going through the arena section, which can be kind of tough. But yeah, anticipation is going to be super, super crucial, especially in these sort of sprint format races, because you're constantly going to be by cars, you're constantly going to be having to adjust to them. And when you're in these trains like Peter is right now, it's not just about how late can I brake and how fast can I go, but how can I stick with the cars with me and stay in a rhythm. So that's going to be super, super crucial.
Yeah, we have seen there are some spin-offs in the back of the field. They're just driving back right now, so that should be fine. But most of them are just running pretty good. And Eder Augusto, he is just having maybe a high ping, and internet connection should be just hopefully fine, because we don't see any issues at that point. And and good that we also see the rest of them back on track and being smooth and just trying to find the gap. But what we can definitely say, and this is kudos to the McLaren, we have most of them in the top 10 position. Some of them most of them are just directly at podium level. So just the Mercedes with the 297 has to go out of the way, so then they would have a triple podium, so to say. But I guess that Yannick Rove is not happy about that if that happens, because they're pretty fast today.
Yeah, well, I jokingly call the McLaren the flying calculator, right? It's one of those cars that does really great by itself in open air. It's basically like an upside down plane wing that you can tell when it was designed to not have any other cars around it, because when it's running by itself, it is super, super fast. I can see, though, when you're stuck in a battle with the McLaren, the aero wash for it can be kind of difficult to manage. So, drivers like Peter and a few other of the McLarens like Joel and might struggle a little bit just kind of balancing the changing dynamics of their car as the dirty air from the car in front is washing over their car. But if they can find some open space, they'll be quick again. So, kind of a McLarenism, but it's a fast car, really positive driving. Got to be careful on the brakes, but it's a good car. Good car.
It has to be like a smooth running through, because you don't want to have a stress out in one of those races where you just have really high competitiveness that you can get completely smooth and easy on the car. But we also have seen in the back that I think it was one of the team cakes, they had given some space to others, and this is where we jump right back into the replay, which is completely crazy that our production team is already picking that up. Amazing, thanks for that. In 138, just having a bit of a touch with the Aston Martin, and oh man, what a catch. And I thought I'd just get it.
Are we gonna save it? Oh, we're good. We did it. All right.
But this was really gentlemen's and gentlewomen driving, because they were not happy about it. But what you can definitely say that they switched positions back. So this is what you see right now here. This is great driving, and this is what we want to see in sim racing, that you just give back the space, and if you made a mistake, you instantly take it. And this is what I really like about it. They just don't have a negative time out there, because they know that there is a problem, and you just instantly say, well, I don't want to take this place right now, although they kick jump them 3 corners ahead, so this could also be the
they got a shortcut to see the track ahead of time, and then they got a break to come back, so that's okay. But you said something I think is really important too, is I think that's what makes sim racing and league communities so great, right? Because once you kind of get out of, I think, racing in public lobbies and kind of get to more of a focused community space, you realize there are people in these cars, and you don't really want to be driving people outside of the track, but racing incidents happen, right? We're pushing hard, it happens, inches, right? And the fact that people are able to acknowledge that and give spaces back, and makes it so that we're all having a good time, it's what makes sim racing so fun, right? So kudos to them to, especially from Team Cake, to realize that, we got a little close, there was a little bit of rubbing, and I didn't mean to, and, gave the spot back, and we'll just go right back to racing, right?
Exactly, what we also can say, they don't give up the space. Josie Austin is fighting super hard against SG Stern. Look at this amazing move.
Oh my god.
I mean, Niels Hansen, he had no choice. I mean, he tried to overtake, but there is no kind of point that Josie Austin is giving up that one. And look at this. I mean, they are factory drivers kind of, if they're driving 40 SG Stern, and we have the Wild Things Racing going nuts. I mean, this is in Team Cake as well, where they just try to push as much as they can, and kudos to Josie really pushing this off. And although they just get some flashlights and it's tight racing, they just fight for every corner.
That was a move. That was a
move.
Oh, do it again. Oh, I love good moves like that. That is some good proactive driving.
Amazing. This is what we definitely want to see, that they just push as far as they can. And Ridley and Lloyd Davis, I guess they are just on a team chat together right now, just having a really good time. No matter if they try it, you have to find a good spot, and then even if you just think you can't miss the corner, you just try it in the next one, going a different line, even if you're defending. And also in the back, I mean, the Aston Martin is still close. So they have to be with Ben Brown trying to just have eyes on everything. But Josie Austin is making a fantastic job to defend the line and trying to beat this, because the place is crucial that you just get some points for us, because top 20 is always like the cut where you want to be, kind of. And great to see how close they are together.
Well, I mean, if you have a partner that's going to open the door, you might as well stay close and go with them, right? So Josie's moving, and she is really, really making some good moves here. So the Aston behind will just see this door open and just go right along with them. So that's great.
And as we can say, we have a good mid-pack field where people are trying to find together, and even if it's 3 or 4 cars, and they find, it's what you said, you find your best body on track, where you find exactly now this timing to just push yourself forward to follow and close the gap to others, because if you just fight so long, you maybe have some others coming with you and trying to take your place. And again it goes. It will be 4 hours, I guess, because they're still having fun. Look at this move again.
The Porsche is good on the brakes, but Josie's amazing on the brakes. This is some stuff.
Yeah, this is pretty good, although they just bumped a bit into each other, and it's nice. And as you say, racing is rubbing. It's fine as long as it's clear. And now they're just trying to take the way from the Aston Martin and making a good cut here, not giving them enough of slipstream, and trying to really defend the line. The Aston Martin has no way to go, really. When we have the great camera perspective, there is no choice, because the track is at least a bit wider, but also it's a hard fight with the Mercedes on that side, and it got a bit bump off here from the Aston Martin, and Josie Austin has to defend that line. But then we have again the team cakes together with Josie Austin having the teammates with Sebastian Handler, so now they can try to take them both in and race against the Aston Martin. But look at the back. I mean, the Ferrari is also coming close, but what amazing drive from Josie to say here that they try to defend the line for 3 laps.
Although she lost the place there, that was some really smart driving by Josie, because she was in a position where the Aston on her could have driven into her if she had tried to turn in where she was. And so before she got to the corner, she moved over to give room. And even though she lost a place, it's more important to survive to the end of the race. And so it's smart driving. I mean, she's still in the same mix that she was before, just a little while back. And she's got an hour and 40 minutes left, right? There's plenty of time to make these things up. So, although in the moment you're probably like, grrr, because I got past, that was smart. Because it's better to be on the track than in the wall. So that was really clever driving. It was really, really clever.
Exactly. And if we look at the front, I mean, there are nearly 5 seconds, which is between Filippa Bukida and Kieran Prendergast. This is what you also have to just get done in this kind of few minutes we have in the race, because this is what you have to pull off in that strong field. And if you look at number 10, that's Lukas Lichten, he is in 10th position right now, driving for Team Iris alone. So he has to find it with the Boatley, and is the best one in the field. Behind him is Brian von Beusekom as well with the Bentley. And what we also can say is that one of the SG Stern drivers, Lucy Treffs, he is now in 9th position. So they made up good speed in this kind of race and try to sneak through. And sometimes it's even better if you are kind of sneaking through and don't have any troubles with getting through traffic and navigating it. So it really depends on where you are on the track, and as we see, the track map is already full. So this will be really crucial when we come to the pit stops, where you find your place and maybe also race against each other. We have seen some undercuts, and where is a problem now with Nicholas Marr, and his McLaren is not looking nice, and hopefully they can still survive. Maybe there was a slight touch between them. He's dropping now to the 11th position, but one McLaren still looking good, Peter O'Brien, but still he has no chance to take on Jan F. Roeff in the front. This Mercedes is pretty stable in terms of timings. Sometimes they even don't want to take it too serious right now and try to save tires, right? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you have enough of a you have a mandatory tire stops. Let's start there, right? So we're going to change tires at some point in the middle of the race. So I think that's going to be okay. And we're going to have a replay of what happened here to the McLaren.
Yeah, the AstroTurf.
Oh, yeah, just got turfed and then on the wall. That's unfortunate. But that can still happen.
If there would be the pit entry, that would be good, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's the wrong one.
Oh, no. Yep. That's unfortunate. But like you said on tires, right? So we have a mandatory stop, so people are going to be driving their tires till they die, right? And that's okay. But still, you still need to manage tire temperature and tire pressure, especially on these tires after 1.8. If you abuse them and raise the tires too high, I personally think that if the tire pressures are too low, the car is a little bit too pitchy and a little bit hard to control. And if the tire pressures are too high, then the car gets a little lazy and is a little hard to kind of keep precise. You want to try to manage the car within that window so that it stays working with you, right? The thing I always tell a lot of people is that you are trying to work with your car, right? And it weighs 3,000 pounds and you weigh, let's say, 200 pounds. So you're a featherweight to its heavyweight and are always going to lose. So you got to take care of it as you're driving around the racetrack, because it wants to do what it wants to do. And so we got to make sure we manage tires, we got to manage brakes, and got to pay attention to our dance partner, because it'll just get away from you if we don't take care of it. Right? So it's important to manage tires over the course of that race, even if it's just a short stint.
Exactly, and what we sometimes see if you try to defend in the last minutes, then it's even worse if you don't have nothing to defend with, right? So you just try even to push it, and then you just lose the place. And also in terms of fuel management, this is also crucial.
Yeah. I think the 8 and the 200 are pulling the early 2010 Sebastian Vettel method of just gapping everybody and then managing the race after that. So hopefully that'll kind of play out for the whole race, because they have such a big gap now that they could slow down just a little. Wanted to, and still have enough time to the cars around them to do things. So you'll see this too with Peter and Rustov in third and fourth. They're battling, sure, but they also have a decent amount of gap. So depending on how they want to cooperate or not, they'll see kind of how that plays out after pit stops happen.
And if we were looking down to Yannick Ruoff, who has still now a bit of push by Peter O'Brien, we have seen the 3 wide with the cars behind. Aurelian Cross now in 5th place, overtaking Eder Augusto, and behind Joel Dallas. So they had a 3 wide funny drive. This is also nice if you have enough energy. And also the next one is here in the battle with Jos Leune, the Mercedes directly in the sandwich. And McLaren seems to be running fine with its 96 Nicolas Marin, so no problem there from this kind of little touch they had, although it looks a bit wrecked, but the car is still fine to drive. And the 37 behind it directly on the slipstream. And afterwards we have the next battle with the BMWs is Denise Pope, also really a nice livery. I'm a fan of this one, to say, and Evan Natafas. Also this is the fun situation right now with the Quattro on the track.
Well, Denise is a great graphic designer, and you see a lot of her Wild Things Racing designs in a lot of different cars, with iRacing and ECC. I kind of get spoiled because, we were talking about voting for our favorite liveries, and whenever I see the WTR livery, I'm like, woo! And then I get excited. So it's a little bit of bias there because I think they look so cool. Also, I'm a big fan of pink on race cars. I love seeing pink on race cars. So anytime I see a splash of pink, I'm like, woo! So
exactly.
I think they're great.
Same here.
Yeah,
but I cannot pick my favorite yet. I think we still have to, get more liveries in our stream to be just displayed. But this looks like Samantha Tan's livery, to be honest. Maybe that's kind of the, a nudge between that, because she was also racing in the M4 GT3, and this is kind of reminding me of this, where we see still the problem with the 69, so the McLaren is overtaken now by the BMW. Maybe there is still not, of course, with this kind of touch, not the best aerodynamic, so to say, but Denise Pope is pushing.
I'm sure the front end on that McLaren is fighting, right? It got some damage because of that contact with the wall, and now in any sort of high-speed section, I'm sure the front just doesn't want to go the direction the driver wants it to. But, we see really good placement on trying to hold cars back where we can, but there's that understeer again of just not being able to make the corner. That's where aero damage. The McLaren is a very aero-sensitive car.
So hopefully they can at least fix it in their little kind of pit stop. And otherwise it takes a bit of time, but maybe that's the chance to do this here. Otherwise, this is also kind of a problem if you have this kind of a bit damage and you lose, and you see that you lose seconds. You can't defend it if you have this kind of strong driver feels behind it. But Peter O'Brien, he tries to find another way of getting rid of his opponent in the front, which is still Yannick Ruoff. He always uses the same tail. Point. He maybe try to do an undercut. Maybe that's the point where he says, okay, if I can't defend it or just try to overtake on the track, maybe that's the point of doing this in the actual pit stop. But let's see how this plays out. And as we come back to the chat, thanks for sharing some insight, Alexander Belte, about the drivers there. So if it's something we just mistake, please just say it, because we don't all know everything, but good that you also give some insights on these kind of evolvements. And of course Oscar has to vote for his car. Butterfly Effect Esport, he finds it as the best livery, yes, for sure, but we maybe want to try to get more people involved on the chat to just give a thumbs up to their favorite drivers as well, because they know that they are watching, and even if they watch the replay, they know that you have kudos for them out there. Also, Fonitz Hansen now just getting the next one he wants to overtake, sitting in the 18th place, and hopefully there is a chance to do this for his car. In front of him is the Audi Juan Prieto, and hopefully there is a chance for him to take the next lead. And what we can definitely say behind him, Sebastian Handler is also trying to at least push again to close the gap to Niels Hansen, but he's flying high, and let's see how far it will take this Mercedes up the rank, where also Lucy Treffs has made up 1 point and put Lukas Lichten on the 9th place. Going back to sim racing in general, and this is what we also want to talk about today, giving the diversity and the mission out there. I think this is what we have seen so far. Even everyone who has at least a bit of a budget can do sim racing. And please talk us through how important it is to spread the word that there is no limit for everyone to join.
Yeah, that is a really good point. So I'll put it to you this way, and I'm going to call out Peter just a little bit. I know that, for example, Peter is racing on like a desk rig, right? Like a G29 on a desk, right? And it's awesome to see how high his performance can be on what I would say is entry-level equipment. So there's not as much of a limiting factor when it comes to getting involved with sim racing as maybe real racing might be, because they're limited by the real-world performance of real cars or real go-karts and other things. Is that, the barrier to entry is a lot lower. You don't necessarily even need brand new equipment to even get started. I first started sim racing on the used equipment that I borrowed from a roommate at the time when we were in college. And then over time, I kind of traded and got some better pedals, or I got a better wheel, or I got a better monitor. And then I shared my old stuff with somebody else and kind of paid it forward. And so it helped more people get in because, if I'm getting new stuff, I can just give it to somebody else who's trying to get in, and then I have someone to race with. So I think that's one of the benefits of sim racing that I particularly love, is that it's not 100% hardware dependent. Like, sure, VR helps. Sure, high resolution monitors are nice, direct drives are nice, hydraulic pedals are nice, but they're not required, right? And you can have a really good time and go really fast with a range of equipment. So you don't have to feel so budget limited as you might in like IRL racing.
And also what we have seen a bit of a spin-off, because what we have seen in the back for... I just need to see who dropped that. It's probably the number 25th. But it's a good thing that, and this is what we see in these kind of highlight events, as we want to call it. So if we want to talk through the virtual Le Mans, for example, we have seen that also. It's great to see that people having a dash cam or a camera. So for them that we can definitely see who's sitting in the sim. Makes it also interesting how they sit at home on the chair, putting their wheels to a normal desk, and this is where they also can show that it doesn't matter what kind of equipment you have, you can be fast, and also you can just try to fix it that you are fast with this one. Yes. Of course, if it helps if you have a direct drive, no matter what, and if the brakes are fine, but there is no limit. And also if we have people with disabilities, there is no limit for this. You can always try to tweak around that you have the chance to make your setup right. And also what you say, there are some sim centers, for example, where you can even go to if you don't have a sim at home and share it with your best buddies. Make a team party out of it, right?
That's right. Actually, there's a sim center actually right up the street from where I live in the States, which is just like that. They have like 5 or 6 sim rigs all together, and people play Assetto Corsa and ACC together, and it's really great. And then they learn about the hardware they can buy themselves, and then they build their own rigs at home, and I think that's fantastic. Right?
And also the affordability. I mean, this is what we definitely can say, and everybody knows about it. Of course, sim racing is a bit cheaper than real racing, to be honest. But it's a good preparation, and we have seen many careers driving now in real cars. That's the progression from sim racing, where it is even still harder coming from karting, or maybe let's say other opportunities you can do in real racing, that sim racing gives you more chance to actually drive the real car on the racetrack you want to practice for, and also taking the setup. This helps you to just get even better with different cars and in different situations. Also, if we have no rain, but today at least we have sunshine, that is a good preparation. And I think that at least now, and this is so great that we have, I mean, the pandemic was not great, but in terms of what the outcome was, that this has now a better platform to perform and give more insights to people who haven't thought of that they want to try it.
Well, especially with so many titles that have, laser scan tracks and the high level of detail of, all the virtual environments and such, right? I have friends who club race cars in real life that will spend time in the sim before they go to the real racetrack just to know their way around. And they've said, it's really helped, like, whether they're going to Silverstone or Dakota or any, Road Atlanta or any of these other tracks that you'll find in a lot of these detailed titles, they'll say, hey, I wasn't so lost the first time I went there because I drove it in the sim, which is great. right? That's an amazing value of Sims.
Exactly, and also then the different lines, what we definitely see here, Denise Pope is sitting on the back of Joe Sloan, and also what we have also seen the maneuver regarding trying to overtake the number 127 with Lars Breitenstein, where Niels Hansen is still battling with. It's nice to see how different the lines are in terms of what the car can do, what the driver can do, braking really late into that corner and trying at least to also make an impression on the driver in front of you, putting the pressure up, not even if you use the flashlights, but also if you're trying to brake a bit later. It's nice to see that there is chance to improve yourself if you just try different cars, and I can definitely speak for myself. I was completely frustrated the first time I just used a different sim I normally did, and then the car, no matter what it is, it completely feels different, and you have to adjust, and this is where it makes it so easy. And now Yannick Ruoff has still the McLaren on his tail, but now even closer together. Peter O'Brien is trying to take a move, and maybe there is a way of getting it through on the track. We have still 1 hour and 25 minutes to go, so it's a long time, but there is no space. I mean, Yannick Ruoff is really driving a stable line. There are no hiccups on that side. Also, navigating traffic is pretty good on that side, and there is a way. Even if the McLaren has not the best speed for that time, he maybe tries to find a sneaky corner where he's better on braking.
Yeah. I mean, the McLaren isn't, I think, the strongest on the brakes, but in the high-speed aero sections, it'll be really, really fast. And so I think that what Peter's really trying to do is intimidate the car in front by just kind of filling his mirrors as much as possible. Because if you watch some of his braking, he's not braking necessarily super, super late, but he's staying with the car in front of him so that he knows, the Mercedes driver knows that McLaren is always there. And, over an hour or two, that can be very exhausting because the Mercedes can never back out. Right, it's got to keep going, and so I think Peter's strategy is going to be pressure, and he's going to put a lot of pressure on over the distance and see where it shakes out.
That's what we definitely talked about. If you're the chaser, it's even better. If you're the defender, it's kind of a hard attack mode. If you try to do that and you just missed it maybe for 1 second and then you lost the space, right?
Well, when you're chasing, you can only go forward, right?
Exactly.
So when you're leading, you can only go backwards. So it's nicer to chase sometimes because you can just fill the mirror of the guy in front and wait for that person to make a mistake, and then that's when your opportunity pops up. It can be difficult, though, because if you wait too long, then the guys in front of you have gotten even farther away. So it's a risk management thing. Do I attack now and try to get through, or do I wait and then see what happens after that? So I think Peter's taking a aggressively long-term approach is how I'd explain that.
Exactly, it's also kind of mind frustrating if you want to do it and you can't, and then you just have this kind of gap of 9.5, and you maybe can be better if you're in the front, but also even maybe you are slower then, and you just defend yourself and try to find and lose the tires, and this is kind of sometimes even easier to just follow them and then even be a bit slower in your own sense, right. But try not to over push it. But still everybody wants to have a better outcome, even not for the teammate or even alone. Fighting for 2 hours can also be completely exhausting, and Evan Natafas, Wild Things Racing, with the number 74 car, luckily he's not alone because Lisa Louise is then taking in the next step in the car. This is also what you mentioned before. You have to just not only think for yourself but also for your teammate. And how often do you speak when you race together with your mates? Because the first time I got into my first sim race, I was completely overwhelmed because I was not used to talk throughout the race. Yeah. I was always completely quiet with my engineers and not saying anything. And then you have like 5-6 people talking to you, but it's important, right?
It takes practice, right? A lot of times you need to do a lot of practice racing so you can learn what information to tune out and what information to listen to. But it can be very, very helpful, especially if you have a coordinated team of people. There are times where it's better to just drive together rather than drive against each other. And if you can communicate a little bit between teammates, that makes that life a little bit easier. Especially if you have a car that might be leading but might be a little slow in some sections, it can be nice to release the faster car to try to slow down the opponents in front rather than holding them up accidentally. So where you can have teammates communicating with one another, it can help for an overall better race result because you can use each other the most effectively rather than just kind of getting each other's way on accident.
That's definitely true, and also what helps if you have somebody who just actually helps you with setting up the tire pressure. Maybe you just talk about that during the race, because in ACC you have to do everything yourself, which is a bit easier than in iRacing, where somebody else can help you out with that. But it's good that you at least have somebody who just takes notice of this, and you're not alone. That's for sure.
Right.
Something. Yeah.
Well, also too, like there are things as a driver that I just can't see when I'm driving. And so when you have a friend or a spotter working with you, they can tell you like, hey, you're really outrunning the car in sector 3. You don't need to overdrive. Or, yeah, that car is beating you on the brakes into cop, but don't worry about it. And those little things can be really helpful for the driver to just kind of focus on hitting their marks and doing what they need to do. Because drivers are weird and we get in our own heads really, really quickly. So sometimes you need someone to just say, it's fine, you're fine, everything's fine.
That's for sure what you definitely need, someone who calms you down. That's definitely the case. And like Michaud is cultured connoisseur. He's just driving really good because Arjun, he was just not joining. That's unfortunately he has to drive alone. And he had some spin-offs in the first place, but now just climbing up the ladder again in his spot. And we just jump back to Ben Brown, and we also have an Audi just kind of really bit abashed in the front and trying to avoid every contact with the with the blue flags and trying to get out of the way, where Ben Brown is trying to get in the way of his opponent, which is really good to get another space on the grid, and nice also camera side-by-side moves, which we have seen here from the Wild Things Racing couples. They're close together, and this is sometimes even the worst thing. If you're driving behind a teammate, although you're just rivals on the track, you have your teammate, you just don't want to push out of the track, and if you are sometimes faster and there is no kind of team strategy or team order, then you just try to
it gets complicated.
Make any mistakes there.
It gets complicated. Yeah, definitely, for sure. Right. It's funny though, because I'm really impressed with how clean everyone's been so far in the last first 50 minutes of the race, right? 40 minutes of the race. Right. We haven't had really many big accidents. We haven't had any rude driving. Right. Yeah. I mean, and now we have 3 teammates all running together, and they're all behaving themselves. That's good. That's good.
But this is amazing. I mean, how lucky can you be to meet each other on the track directly if you just started from a different position, being now actually in the team lead, and they're just fighting against each other? You see that? The Bentley's trying to get in there.
I think they're trying to win the best livery award, and they're putting all their cars together so we don't miss them. I think there's this plot going on here. I think there's a livery conspiracy that's happening.
I probably, and you like the pink, so you're
I do.
Just biased now.
I said I like the pink, and they all got together. So see, there you go.
Exactly. Well, the good thing is maybe they want to take also some nice pictures for their websites. Which
there you go. There you go. See,
what is shooting?
Yeah, gotta have some media opportunities in the race. See everything works out.
Exactly. But it's good to see that the BMWs, because as you probably have noticed, and some know already that I'm a big fan of BMW, is still in front of the Bentley. But they are just still trying to fight each other. So it's nice to see that. And it's good that we have this kind of diversity, even with the cars on track, although the BMW squad is quite strong. Yep. Going back to poor Peter O'Brien. I mean, I can feel him, right? You just try to find a way to get this Mercedes out of the way, but there is no chance. I mean, the only thing is what he can really do is just start trying to do an earlier pit stop to avoid this, having him again in the next race. Or hope
that the Mercedes has a poor pit stop, because if you lose, let's say, a second in the pit just braking too early or having a bad in-lap, right, that's more than what he's trying to do on the track. So he may be trying to stay close to the Mercedes in the hope that when that Mercedes stops, he makes a mistake and he overtakes them off track rather than on track. So there's still hope. There's still hope. He's still trying to drive
optimistic.
Yeah, I have hope. I have hope in Peter. I think he can do it.
You know him. That's the good thing.
I
right?
do. I believe he can do it. I think he's got this.
Lucas Lichten, he is racing alone with his team Iris and in his Bentley, trying also to get positions where it's kind of getting really clumsy here. Switch positions all over the track, where we also have seen switch positions in the back. And it's good to see that we have a kind of diversity top 10 at the moment, and still they're trying to battle, so it's good.
I think Lucas is trying to do stealth mode with this Bentley, because he just takes this big car and just finds his way subtly up through the field and randomly is in the top 10 now. And I don't even mean random, because he's been fast from the very, very beginning, but he's definitely been the fastest Bentley by a long shot. And it's been good to see.
Yeah, and also if you look at the McLaren in front of him, they can even overrun it, because this is just a big car, and normally he has more space, so he can take it.
Yeah, it's like a little pit bull and like a bulldog, or like a chihuahua and a bulldog. It's like the Bentley is so huge, it's intimidating just by its size.
Exactly, and the rail and cross then in front has a problem, but they are just fighting with the McLaren. So there is the Dallas, the next one who is in the lead. So I hope that they can, swap positions. Joel, he probably is not a big fan of that, swapping positions, but probably, maybe there is not a chance to hold that place for long because Lucas is just kind of pushing behind it. And what we also can definitely say that the Lexus is then somewhere around, but also unfortunately quite overtaken at the moment. Luis Acosta with the 709 sitting in the 28th place. So most of them, and also unfortunately the Honda quite back in the field. So they have a really hard time fighting with their cars, but good that they at least try and even not giving up. This is what we definitely can say. The spirit in sim racing is sometimes even better, and also the temper. We sometimes see that people are frustrated, but still they just try to push it through, and this kind of spirit is great, what we have seen in sim racing so far. And even if you can't make the move, which is still Lucas trying to do here, he does it in the next round.
Yep, definitely. Joel and Lucas I actually know pretty well from racing in other leagues, and Joel I always tease because you'll find him practicing and he'll always say like, oh, I have 2 more laps until I have to go. 2 more laps. And so I teasingly call him Joel 2 more laps Dallas, because he always finds pace in like the last 2 laps, and they'll be sudden all of a sudden. So I'm expecting Joel to probably try to run to a fuel strategy and then pull out those 2 laps and then all of a sudden gap people. So he'll be all right.
How many people actually do you know on the grid?
Oh, okay, let's see. I know Peter and Eric. I know Joel and his teammate. I know Lucas. I know Denise vicariously. I know a few of the Team Cake people vicariously too. So maybe about half the grid, give or take. So I appreciate that folks showed up. Some I know that because I race with directly. Some I know because of the other work they've done in sim racing, and I'm either admirers of their work or they've helped me on a project. So that's been I'm very fortunate that so many people registered when we created this event. Because it really helps to show the real, not only diversity in where everyone's located, but also just like what they do and how they do it.
Exactly. When actually have you started with Driven by Diversity and also started with setting up this race?
About 2 years ago. So Driven by Diversity was founded in 2020. And it was right around the start of the COVID pandemic. There were a couple of things that were going on politically in the world that caused a bunch of us to come together. And, we had been working on kind of our own individual projects all around, social equality or racial equality, and we all had careers in motorsport. So it's me and a team of maybe 10 other people. And as we started talking during that time, we said, hey, why don't we use our superpowers together for one big cause rather than 10 separate causes? And so we said, we all have motorsport backgrounds. Let's focus on, improving the world one small little bit at a time rather than trying to make these really, really big swings. And said, let's try to find new ways to get new people into the sport. Let's try to find new ways to open up career opportunities in the sport, especially for like non-driver roles. So, people who want to be mechanics and engineers and artists and marketing people and designers and business development people that you don't always hear about on TV or you don't always see. Right? Race car driver is the real obvious role that everybody wants to be, but there are lots of other career opportunities to get you into the motorsport industry that would let you do those things if you knew about them. And so Driven by Diversity was founded to kind of make people more aware of those opportunities and then help find different ways to get people involved in those opportunities, because the road isn't always clear.
That's true, and it's great that at least some career jobs have been created now in this kind of pandemic situation, even before that, which you never know, that there are people designing the simulators and also just getting the engineers together, even the as you mentioned, the designers and artists. Some people are actually not into streaming, and so we have broadcasters all over the globe, which is really nice. And that's great to create. Even though it's a new niche, there are still so many opportunities where you can actually have a full-time career in sim racing.
Totally. Broadcasters, streamers, people who are engineers that work on sim equipment hardware, marketing people and design folk, esports drivers who just drive and compete and raise awareness for their teams through competition, because there are 4 prize events that they can compete and earn prize money in. There's a long engineers, just people who have engineering backgrounds that help to set up simulation cars for them that help to translate into real world cars. There's a lot of those opportunities, and especially from a marketing and awareness perspective, vicariously you can be connected through OEMs in some special occasions and coincidences, or I guess opportunities is the best way to say that, where you see a lot of OEM manufacturers who have esports connections now. They either compete in esports teams, or they support people who run in esports leagues, or they use it as a way to get people into their cars in club racing in real life, or buying actual physical cars from dealerships. So there's a lot of interesting connections through sim racing that, you know, Driven by Diversity tries to help to make people more aware of, because sometimes the dots aren't always so clear, and so we try to be that dotted line between them all.
That's definitely true, and this is great that we have this kind of opportunity where we are in the split screen mode right now with the two people running close together, which is Lukas Lichten and also Peter O'Brien. They just try to do that, where we have a drive-through for Natjafas in the number 11th position, but still there. We just try to see how they navigate through traffic. We have seen that they had some blue flags, and also the good thing is now it's crucial if you just go side by side together maybe through that, or if you have the problem that somebody maybe is not actually paying attention to the blue flags, you can make a swap in this position. So that's good to see now, because they are super close together. If Lukas can make the move, or Peter can make the move, and now we see again that Peter is trying to do another line, but still there is always a good chance for Janek to just drive, although they're super tight together, and there is even not a paper that just can fit in between these cars. That's now the crucial part.
Working traffic is a huge thing, right? Like, anytime that you're off the optimal line, you're going to be going a little bit slower, but sometimes it's more about positioning than speed. And so if you can use traffic, kind of like what Lucas and Joel here are doing together, right? If you can use traffic to get into the optimal position, just so you can get in front of a car that you've been struggling to get around because of the blue flag traffic, you're going to try to use it. So
slight of a push,
a little bit, a little bit.
Well, they try to do it, and this is the good part. And even if they are close together, they have at least a good time, because that's what you always try to do. If you can't practice it on the server and you can't practice it with your teammates, the fights are on the track, only in the race like this tense. And he was always trying to do give Joel a hard time, but as you know Joel quite well, is he nervous?
No, they're having fun. They're having fun. I mean, you're pushing really hard, you're battling really hard, you're having a blast, and they both are experienced enough to know that there's plenty of time left in the race. So they'll push each other up to the edge and then give each other some room. So that's what makes racing fun.
Exactly, and the fun thing is right now, Joel just maybe thought, okay, Lucas, just now please do the lead, just get in front of me and try to drive, because sometimes you just, even if you think that the other one is a bit faster, let the other one do the lead work, and you can save a bit of fuel, right?
Definitely. I mean, well, also too, that just because of where they are in the race, there's a huge gap to 6th place. So, and there's not so much of a gap to 9th. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to be battling so hard continuously, because if you're in 9th place, you're getting closer. And if you're in 6th place, you're getting away. So after a while, it kind of makes sense to just give each other a break, fall in line, be friends for a little while, and then see if you guys can catch up to the guys in front of you and then start battling again. Otherwise, we're just going to have a race for 7th for the whole time, and they want to try to get on the podium. So they need to find creative ways to work together.
For sure. And what we can also see in the fight between 3rd place, 7th position, also 10th place, and even 9th was on fire. And Janek is also doing a stellar job to just push himself through the track. We have a fantastic camera atmosphere to see now from the rear, to see where Peter O'Brien is driving.
I like that angle. That was a good camera angle. I like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Although, it's pretty. The good thing is, even camera perspectives, even in real racing, those are not the fanciest one, because in sim racing we have all the ones where we can definitely see that. That's so great.
Yeah. One thing that I used to share to my friends who race cars in real life that they weren't familiar with sim racing is, you can do 3D camera free cams, and you can show all the angles from everywhere. And in some of the coaching I do, it's a really useful tool, because you can show, a different perspective that you just couldn't get physically in the real world. Right, super close to a tire like we have in this shot here, or looking back at the cars from a certain distance away, and that perspective is everything, right? Because when you're trying to explain to somebody how a move is happening or what's happening on the track, you need to be able to show them different points of view, so they can learn and kind of keep that in their minds for when it's their turn to drive. So these shots are awesome, because it kind of shows not only how hard the Mercedes is pushing, but how close everyone has to be in order to make those moves happen.
Kudos to our broadcaster, who is just bringing up this fantastic view again. So thanks.
He needs a raise. I have no control over his salary, but he needs a raise. He's doing great.
kudos, please. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. No, this is where you also see how close they are and using the track completely to the fullest. This is also crucial here when we just go into this braking point to see where they can position the car. And Turn 1 Racing has also a huge fan base. So where is Turn 1 Racing fan base? Please just give it a shout out.
Yeah. Chat. Someone say Turn 1 in the chat. I'm going to shout at the chat until they actually do something. Oh
exactly. My God. Wake up. Where's the fan crowd?
This camera angle and a few other ones have also been really good because from a driving perspective, it shows how when you're following another car, you brake at the same point, it's at the same time, not at the same point, right? And so you'll have a car following and it'll brake ahead of you at the 100 and you'll need to brake at, let's say, the 120 in order to stay with them. And that's a really crucial skill that the really top drivers are implementing right now when they're chasing each other. So like when Peter is chasing this Mercedes, he's got to brake in time with him, even though they're in different places on the racetrack, so they can stay together. And that's what stops them from running into each other, is because their timing is in sync, right? And so you'll see a lot of brake lights coming on at the same time, because that's how we balance, and adjust with one another. So it's really good driving from a lot of these guys to be able to know how to do that.
Yeah, and consistent. If we look now, we are close to the half mark of our race. So 1 hour is just nearly over, and they do this for now like ages. So this is like precise driving from the start, where they have nailed down their precision. After, unfortunately, the 88 has dropped off with the internet connection issues, and they're just trying probably to get back, but I haven't seen them yet climbing up anything in terms of the positions they do. But yeah, seeing here this kind of fights between them on this kind of high level is great to see. In the front, we have definitely now huge gap of 24 seconds. I mean, they try to do this like Formula One style, so that they, even if they do their pit stop, they will never lose their first place.
It's the Mercedes strategy, right? Mercedes F1 strategy. You just gap them by 50 seconds, and then it doesn't matter what happens. So
exactly.
Yeah, but you bringing that up though, the pit stops for these guys are going to be really crucial because there's only one. And so if they're not accurate as they're going in on their in laps, and if their out laps aren't really fast, they'll lose more time in that interchange than they have been on track, right? Because as you're going in for your pit stop, if you brake too early and give up a second going into the pits, that's a second that you fought so hard to gain on track. And on your out lap with new tires, if you're kind of slow on new tires, then you're giving up even more time. And it's so easy to do that it'll be interesting to see if there are any changes of position in the pit stops, just because people haven't really perfected the art of coming in and out of the pits. It's overlooked a lot, because people want to do the lap time on the track, but they've got to do the whole track. And the pit stop is part of that.
Yeah. Exactly. That's so fun. Yeah, but that's really interesting to see, where we have now a single driver, Shankar Kulumani, with the best Ferrari, actually preparing his kind of taxation without representation team. That's a nice team name, to be honest. He's trying to overtake and make his move. That's great to see that he has to do it alone and is the best Ferrari now on the track. He also has a good time chasing down one of our favorite liveries. Is that right?
Yeah, it's up there. It's up there. Yeah, I love this. I like the rainbow, and I like the silver, and then the little stylized driver on the side, and so I just think it's really cool. McLaren looks really nice. But, Shankar's not giving up, right? And that's what I like to see, is that everybody, whether you're fighting for the lead or fighting for, not being last, is pushing hard and not giving up, right? And staying with it. Because that's how you get better as a driver, right? You can't get better if you give up when something happens, because in most races, you're going to have adversity. It's just a fact of life, right?
Exactly. Not having a good time was Nick Goodfellow in his second Ferrari fast track. He was just standing in the gravel. But we are back now in our most precious fight, Bentley versus Mercedes, and they are just pushing it hard. And Brian is just actually now chasing down Lucy Trefts and overtaking him. So he has now position 8 in the Turn 1 Racing. I think that our kudos for the chat and also the fan base help right now.
Powered by cheering.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
That was the spin-off from Nick Goodfellow. And even if you try to be early on the gas and sometimes you completely lose it and you think, what happened now, right? This is also the kind of situation you sometimes can't even estimate that this has happened.
It's heartbreaking, though, too, because Nick is a karting teammate of mine. Him and I used to race together when we raced up in the Pacific Northwest. So I have a big shout out for Nick because he helped me a lot in my driving when I was racing go-karts, because he's got a lot of experience as a karter and has raced as factory driver from other karting teams and stuff. He knows his way around a go-kart. So I empathize for his spin because he's a really good driver in real life. Really, really good.
Unintentionally. And this is sometimes where you just really can, bite your fingernails or just smash the wheel.
It just takes time, man. When I first started, like, I am a mediocre sim racer at best, if I'm being honest, right? But when I first got started, just understanding what the sim was doing took a lot. And it just took a lot of help from friends and a lot of laps and a lot of really crappy races so that I could figure out what needed to happen. And then once I thought I was good, I started looking at some of the other really fast guys, and it was like, oh, I'm just okay. Okay, got it. That's fine. That's all right. We'll get better.
Exactly. Just let the other take the points. That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. I'll coach. It's fine. I'm good at that. I can tell you what you're doing wrong. It's okay.
So same here. No, let's do the aliens do the job, and this is what we can say here between Lucy Trefts now back again in 7th place. I think they have just fun now beating themselves up. Where we see also the first pit stop taking place, really half-term. Joel Dallas is just now giving it to JD Daniel, also giving a shootout to them. They're in the pits as well with the number 69, which is Memesco Racing. Nicholas Marin will give the car to Kyle Stack. So quite even race times also. Good to say that they have at least exactly the 1 hour which they give to the teammates. I think that some might swap that a bit so that they have more race time than the other because they know that they're fast, but it's nice to see that they also break it even. And the good thing is there was no entry fee to start in this race, so this is also great that everybody could join to be here, and I think they want to have a fun time and fair racing time for each other amongst what they do, because as you say, sometimes even if you drive with better racers, I always like, no, it's okay if I do 20 minutes and you do 1 hour, right? So
Totally. This is going to be interesting though, because Ruff came in from 3rd and Dallas I think came in from 9th, and it was what we were talking about the in lap and out lap on pit stops. So we'll see over maybe the next 20 minutes or so, depending on fuel tanks and mileage and a few things, where they end up. And so if they end up a little bit ahead or with a gap to the guy that they were racing with because of a better pit stop, it'll all be worth it. Right, so it'll be interesting to see where Peter comes in on his stop, and if they'll be nose to tail again soon, or will they be gapped out. And there's a lot of things that can happen between the second car's pit stop that can really change the dynamics of a race.
Exactly, and Yannick Ruoff is trying to really push hard because he was first in. I thought that Peter O'Brien is doing the undercut, but he didn't. So let's see how Yannick has pushed through traffic and where Peter is coming out of the pits, because I think that he will drop behind him again. So they might have the same situation. Oh no, he just didn't. So he was just lucky out of the pits. So let's see when the pit stops are all done, where he has now actually another opponent in front of him. So there we see it in the split screen. Thanks for that. And good to see that sometimes it makes fun, but he just, have the same picture again and again.
Yeah, and again.
Where Eric is now behind him.
We're in this kind of imaginary race right now when you're racing between pit stop gaps, right? Because I'm 9th on the road, but in reality in the cycle I'm 4th. Because other cars will have to stop, and then I will jump those cars as they have stopped. So it's still important to keep pushing during this period, right? Because even though, the number's not as high as you'd like, in reality, you're way farther ahead in the overall race than the people that are ahead of you on the scoreboard. So the battle for the lead is probably still the first top 2, but that battle for the podium is right now between the people in 5th, 6th, and 7th, unless there's a big, disruption because of traffic or other things. And so it'll be interesting to see that play out.
Exactly, and what we can definitely say that most of them are really having equal driving time because everybody is doing the pit stops now. Also, Kyle Stack now in the place, being down back in his Memesco Racing car, getting the steering from Nicholas Marin. And what we also see is SG30, which is kind of a nightmare for some of the racers. We have 2 already on the grid. Unfortunately for Eder Augusta, and also then 2, and even Arthur has it. So some of them unfortunately have now this kind of penalty, which is just getting worse and worse for them, because also they can't afford it, actually, to be honest. And even horrible if you just have it in the first ones. And oh no, Jessica Pelletier, what happened there?
Oh no.
Hopefully that was a pit entry as I thought it, or was it a pit exit? I mean, that was just hopefully not in terms of a missed strategy there, which is a nightmare if you're just trying to get the car in turn one racing, who has a really good run at this moment, but hopefully then she can pull it through again. Where we are just jumping back and forth, and the 717 or the 417 is having a spin-off there in the back. We are back with Josie Farrow in 11th place with the 16, trying to push for Dallas M Sport. Good to see that they have now a good strategy hopefully in place with their McLaren running wide and furious, but also a nice play body in front of them.
I know this is a bit of a trend of the last hour, but I know Josiah too. So, Josiah is actually a fellow coach with me in a couple other leagues that we coach in. He's actually the guy that also coaches me because not everyone can see everything. So, we can see what's happening with the BMW. They dropped a tire in a high speed section and fell off.
Yeah, that was a massive impact. So, that is kind of unfortunate.
So rough. Well, and the things are too, especially in sim racing, because you don't have that feeling of kinesthesia. If you do drop a tire, sometimes you don't notice until your eyes tell you, and that's when it's too late. And that's so gut-wrenching. And
the thing is, you just think like, this hasn't happened yet. Is it true?
Right.
Kind of feeling. Yeah.
You're in shock because you're driving along fine, and then all of a sudden you're in the wall, and you're like, what's happening? Where did my life go? Yeah. Exactly. For sure. Oh.
I can feel that. This is kind of a nightmare, and even though they had a good run, unfortunately one of the cars, Turn 1 Racing, is now down in that sense. Hopefully they can refix it in kind of a way. But Josie Austin also in the pits with the 137. Team Cake, Angel Cake giving the car to William Lloyd Davis, where the rest of them trying to clear their kind of penalties. We only have also now the first teams in the pit stops, then shortly running. Most of them have cleared it, and also the 51, the Ferrari, is now trying to take a deep breath, because these drivers who are driving alone, they can only take a break in this kind of tiny pit stop window, and I think this is kind of a sport for some tonight.
Yep. There's a slightly bit of masochism, just a little bit. 30-second break for tires, and then they're back at it again. So, they are definitely soloing these like gladiators, and that's good. That's good to watch. It's fun to watch.
Have you driven 2 hours by yourself?
I have. I've done 2 hours by myself. It's not my favorite thing in the world to do. I'm more of a sprint racer than I am endurance. I have a couple friends that I do enduros with, and that can be pretty fun with multiple drivers, but solos, my probably preferred race distance is 45 minutes to an hour. And then after that, I'm like, okay, I want to go home now. But that probably comes from karting, because in karting, everything's a sprint, right? So I'm so used to sprint racing that I like it fast and furious, and then we go on and do something else. So.
Exactly, but the funny thing is, in karting, you normally have no time to think about drinking. But if you're in the sim, you get thirsty, right?
Yes, you do. You get a bottle of water, and you're able to relax, and for sure. And you don't get pit stops in go-karts either. So, at least you get 30 seconds here to take a break.
Exactly.
So that's nice. But
the longest run I did was 2:15 in a go-kart, which was super nice because I could have gone for even longer, but then of course I had to refuel. But you don't feel this kind of time flying by because you have so much stuff to do on the track.
Yeah.
But in sim racing, you feel like completely exhausted because your brain has to be like completely 100%, because there is actually no time to just chat, because in kart you just sometimes even can just chat with your teammates and relax, but there no.
What I tell a lot of my friends with sim racing that they don't always recognize is that because you don't have that like kinesthetic feeling in the car, you have to sometimes focus harder than you would in a physical car, because there's the G-force on a physical car and a go-kart that kind of just pokes your body and tells you like, hey man, this is going to happen to you, where in sim racing you don't get that. So you have to really be concentrating and really being aware of where your car is at all times, because you don't get that sudden, like, your eyes will tell you and your ears will tell you, but by then it's too late, right? Like, the sound of gravel isn't helpful if you're in the gravel.
Exactly.
Right? So you have to really be focusing the whole time, and that's where I think for a lot of folks that are doing enduros, getting comfortable at doing sprint races and kind of building up their stamina is really, really helpful, because Peter and Eric wouldn't be able to drive this 2-hour distance if they hadn't driven tons of sprint races beforehand, because in their mind they basically had a 1-hour race, right? Yeah. Peter did an hour, and now Eric's doing an hour. So Yeah.
It's amazing to see, and we also had the chance to had a sneak peek at Team Cake, Latte Cake, which was Tom Shipton chasing down another opponent, where Maria Krychkova has now a break. Luckily, where we then see a bit of a interesting line. So it's kind of taking everything in. Luckily that we don't have any problems with white line infringements at this point, because there was no chase for battles.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a nice group which have found each other on the track, and we are looking at the positions 7 and 8s, 9s, and we already have kudos to Fabi. So they want to send. They say he should send it, so I think that some of them will do. And Fabian Fabeck.
Just because Chad said send it, so I have to send it now. Yeah, totally.
So Fabian Fabeck has taken over from Lucy Treffs now in the 199 SG Stern car, sitting in the 7th position, but still behind them is with 0.24 seconds the 101, trying to make a move with AJ Jones. So they also got a huge kudos from Turn 1 Racing, and we are now in the battle of again Tom Shipton, where he's still having a good time around with the Aston we have seen again, and also our favorite Mercedes on the track, which we have seen, and he's trying to navigate through traffic. So they have a lot of hands to do, and the next one is trying to clear the kind of SG30 penalty they got, is the 151 now in the pit lane as well of SimRacing team John Prieto, and where David Serra has to clear this kind of penalty right now, where most of them are in the pits. We still have missed some teams who have not done the pit stop yet, but they will come for sure. And it's interesting to see how fast time flies, and some changes have not made an impact, because when we look at the front, not having been in the pit yet is Filipa Bukida with 36 seconds in front of the number 200, which is Kieran Prendergast. So these two still are in the lead, and the rest has already done a stop. So that's interesting to see how this will play out. But yeah, looking at Tom Shipton, who has taken over from Maria Krychkova, also in the Team Cakes livery, which is not supposed to be a typical Team Cake livery, to be honest, because we normally expect them to have this kind of pastel, fancy, kind of colors, but they have it a bit more rough these days. But
it's like a chocolate. It's like a chocolate cake.
Exactly. Yeah, I think so.
All the Team Cake liveries are like fun and like fun cakes. I think this is like a German chocolate cake, because it's a Porsche.
Okay, good.
So I think that's what it's trying to do.
You want to eat it, so that's a good one. Yeah.
German chocolate cake. Oh no! I cursed him because I like German chocolate cake. Oh no!
No, you didn't. It's normally my fault, so don't blame yourself. It was me.
No,
I spoke about the livery. That was my problem.
I just wanted cake. I just wanted a dessert. No, sorry.
Maybe they give it to you later. That's not a problem. But
I'll get a random mail randomly. Here's your cake. I'm sorry. Sorry. Funny.
Yeah, commentators, of course, we can't help it, unfortunately, but
you didn't think desserts were gonna do it? I just thought that the car looked like chocolate cake. I'm sorry. Oh no.
Yeah, hopefully they can just get rid of this. But this wasn't kind of a touch, so probably they were not expecting this. And but the good thing is that we don't have to do the stewarding today. That's great. We just don't have to worry about that. So worries is for Josie Arthur not the case, because he's kind of alone on his position. He's not so much having a chase behind him, so he has a good gap, but he's trying to close it to Kyle Stack in front of him, 1.3 seconds. He has still 48 minutes to do so. So let's see if that's going to help. And kudos comes from the chat to Filipa. Yes, that's what we can definitely say. A great drive there. And we see that many cars are having fun on track, navigating traffic.
I would love to know how much fuel saving that McLaren did near the very, very end there, as well as pushing flat out. I mean, it's only an hour, so, it's not a lot, but sometimes like just one extra lap or two extra laps can really go a long way. I mean, we had a big gap to the lead, but still, every lap counts. So I was impressed by how big of a gap and how long they ran.
It feels like they have an extra tank, so we have to send this. Yeah, we have to send them again to stewards afterwards. Park for May. I think we have to check that.
Technical check. We'll get some FAA stewarding checks in there. Yeah, we'll get them now. We're good on that.
Sure. If we talk about back to our sim racing community, and when we see that so many joined and also getting all the sponsors in, this is also an interesting thing that for most companies now it's getting really interesting that they try to even not put the branding on the real car but also on the sim racing cars to make an effort. And how important do you think is it to get really now the benefits for the factory drivers or the pro drivers to get at least some payment for that, and also actual good championships where they can win prize money?
Well, I mean, I think it's massively important. I mean, just from the fact that you're in a situation where you can engage directly with your fans in a way that you couldn't before. Because, I mean, how cool is it to say that in some circumstances I can race directly with the racing driver that I've been sharing on television? That's massive. Right. And so, sim racing's exposure to a lot of companies is really, really becoming more pivotal nowadays because they can really engage with fans in a way that they couldn't directly before. And more so than just like your typical social media thing where, it's fun to get a tweet or it's fun to get a post. But if I could say that I was racing a pro, that's really cool. Right. Even if they lap me, it's still cool to be on the same track as them. Right? And I think that's fantastic. And because of that, you see a lot more events now that have higher profile exposure where there are prizes and there's, connections to real world racing enterprises and other cool things like that, which gives other people opportunities to want to be involved. Right. It would be neat to see, some unknown talent race some pro driver in an esports race. And maybe that's the thing that gives them the opportunity to get in a real race car sometime because they have it on their resume that they did really well. Right? That's not a thing that could have happened 10 years ago. So that's an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, and it's also great that we can, got some sponsors together with Navigate Partners and Init Esports. Can you say more about how the partnership went from there? Because I think that this is not the only time where we have this kind of driven by diversity event. So I think that there will be more coming in the future. So what can you give us as an outlook on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. So, from Navigate Partners, they do a lot of marketing and commercial marketing. And so they really understand the value of esports from basically everything that I just said, right? It's a massive medium for them to be able to reach out to new audiences and engage with new people. And it also helps them leverage their existing partners to be able to try new mediums to engage with folks, which I think is fantastic. And, Init Esports was on the esports side of the house. They're kind of an esports promotional agency that does similar work to Driven by Diversity, but more focused specifically within esports. So, we partnered with them as a bit of a consultant, getting some feedback of how we were marketing and promoting and getting engaged and kind of planning for the future and other things like that. So, like I said, it takes a village to run events like these, and it takes a village to really make change in real world and in digital world. So we're fortunate to have these partners that we can work with to, get different points of view and, new ideas around how we can try new things to get more people into motorsport.
Exactly, and you also mentioned that you already have good partnerships and plans out there. Are there any other programs you support already where you can give us some sneaky peeks, and also where you say, okay, we need some more people who are voluntarily working for us or just actually getting a job in that kind of community? Are there actually free spots where people say, I want to engage, how can I do this?
You're right. So one of the things that we're doing now is we're working with NHRA and the YES program, which is basically an educational program to get more young people into drag racing. And the NHRA was sort of one of our first big relationships in 2021 and 2022 to be able to get people to the racetrack and to be able to kind of see what's possible there. We're looking at trying to find other relationships within like more road course and more OEM kind of connected sponsored sports as well. But it takes a little bit of time to build those things, so I can't talk about those things right away. But, the real world effect of Driven by Diversity is, getting more people to the racetrack, showing them what's possible at the racetrack, showing people more professional jobs that are non-driver roles that are involved in motorsport, in the motorsport industry, so that they can start shaping their careers in a way that they want to go. So.
And it's great that there are so many opportunities out there that people have the chance to get involved. And even if you just have a question, just shout out to Driven by Diversity. And also what you can do, donate, because this is a good cause where you get people who have not the ability to get into the sport and get engaged. This is really great to see. And coming back to the race, what is really shocking is the number 200 was behind the number 8, where Timea Benchik now has taken the car over. Oscar Sandbeck dropped down to 4th place, although they were in 2nd, and after the pit stop, they are now 4th, which means that now we have the furious driver, which is Yannick Ruoff from the 297, actually driving alone, is now in 2nd place with a pretty good gap, but still afterwards, also the 124, our beloved McLaren, is Peter O'Brien having given the car to Eric Neville. They are now 3 of nearly 4 seconds behind. So you see how it was actually having an early pit stop from Ruoff, which was like, he was actually doing it really smart to just outbrake everybody else on track, which is kind of probably not expected by the other races, because now the gap from them increased, and maybe they had the problem with the traffic. What do you think?
Definitely. I think that Rueff timed his pit stop to before he got to traffic, so that he didn't have to deal with a lot of it when he went into the pits. And then when he came out of the pits, I rode on board with him for a little while. He was really aggressive through traffic in that initial bit to open up a gap to have cars between him and Eric in the 124 for when they came out. So, I mean, 4 seconds isn't impossible to overcome in 40 minutes, right? That, a half spin would catch them back up again, but it's definitely a lot less pressure than the riding on the bumper that we had before the pit stops. So there's definitely a good strategic gamble that Rueff took to make sure that he could get that little bit of margin. And that's how close the margin is for this podium place, right? It's a battle for second.
There is no time to lose it, actually. And also Sebastian Handler has taken over, given the car to Mikko Lepala, where we just go back now to replay of where they maybe had also a slightly problem getting off track here, where it's also costing a bit of time. Yeah, it was just a tiny one, but luckily they saved it. But Mikko is also driving now with Team Cake Sache. I love that. I just get hungry now. Sorry.
No,
just talking about cake again.
I can't talk about it because when I talk about it, things happen to the car. So I have to think of another snack now. I have to think of pizza or something.
Yeah, just go with pasta pizza. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, look at the car. Yeah, look at the car. It has already some snacks from the travel and gravel track, so it's a bit of sprinkled out. Add some more flavor to it right now. I think they don't want it, but still a bit. It's crunchy, but it's driving. So.
Oh man! Now I'm getting hungry. I mean, I only brought gummy worms and water to get through this whole thing. Why are you doing this to me? I'm gonna starve now. I know. It's so mean.
It was me. I didn't pick the car, so it was me. But at least the chat is loving it, so that's good. So we all love Team Cakes, that's for sure. Jumping back to our next Wild Things Racing duo is on track, and I missed the third one. So Denise Pope is driving alone, still making it a good one. In 12th position, also kudos to her. Stellar job on that side, but I think they missed some of the fellow drivers, so we are looking for the number 74, but this is what happens because Evan Tafas had this SG30 he had to clear, so that's why the trio is being split up now in the duo, and the Bentley is in front of the BMW. Denise, what's happening? Just push the pedal to the metal, which she's doing right now, so this is great. I think she's listening to me. That's perfect. Denise, thanks so much.
Broadcast coaching. I see.
Amazing, huh? Yeah,
it works. Denise has a great live stream. If you get a chance to ever follow her on YouTube or follow her on Twitch, I watch her on YouTube often because I like a lot of the races she gets herself into, because all of her races have a fun theme, right? Like she did a race in a Renault and on iRacing where the clip literally said, "I don't know what I'm doing," and I couldn't stop watching it. I thought it was hilarious, right? So here's a good example of someone who has great artistic talent because she designs these liveries. She's a really fun streamer and she's quick. I mean, she's fighting in the top 12 in this race, right? And they are not slow people in this race. And she's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's pretty amazing, and how she can sneak through the colleagues behind them. And this is getting a little bit of a nudge there. This is what they give each other as a lovely kiss on the track. But yeah, she's just flying high, and this is good. Now 11th place for her. Perfect.
So it'll be interesting to see how the WTR cars behave now, because this is one of those ones where we have 38 minutes left. There's a 16-second gap to 10th. There's traffic in front of the 10, so that could slow them up here and there depending on how we behave. Are we going to behave ourselves and try to catch 10th place, or are we going to have a teammate battle for 11th?
No, I think they just want to push it.
Yeah,
I think they want.
I would. I mean, I only have half an hour left, and I want to have some fun, so we might just deal with it later. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then actually, you just. This is the same thing with the 4th place or the 11th place. You just want to be either 3rd or 10th, right? This is just where you have to get it.
Yeah, exactly. I either want to be in the podium or the top 10. I don't want to tell people I was in the top 15.
And there we see Denise's stream. If you want to just follow her, just give kudos and likes and clicks to her. This is amazing what we can definitely see here. Support is everything.
Yeah.
Good job, Denise.
I really appreciate all the people who have been streaming this race on top of the SimGrid broadcast, which is amazingly awesome. But it's really cool to see that other people were excited enough to stream their own things as well. So you get different points of view of the race. And that's one of the things I like about sim racing and just in general, is sometimes just watching other people's streams and watching how they drive and what they find to be interesting and funny. And you learn a lot about those people by watching their streams. So it's cool.
That's so funny because I was, and as I know that Yvonne Hufela, maybe she's still watching it. I was driving with her together, and the fun thing was where we have seen a shocking moment as well for Oscar Sandberg because he's cutting a drive-through, so he's in fourth place, and this is horrible for him because he has to go through the pit, and I don't know what happened there, but
maybe track cut?
Oscar, yeah, what did you do? Yeah, probably. So. Trying to push too hard. No, coming back to Yvonne, it was so fun because when I was racing with her together, I was just constantly just yelling at the first one because I was so frustrated on myself. She said, it's fine. And she was like, you know that we are live streaming? And I was like, oopsie. It was fun, and this is nice to see because we just chatted around each other. It was kind of hilarious, and we see that there is a lot of traffic on track, and still the close fights between also then the other cars around. Lisa Louise also having 0.9 seconds behind Ridian Lloyd Davis in the place before Tom Shipton, where we are right now, and still riding high in this brown cake car. Let's talk about this. It's
no, I can't talk about it. I'm not allowed to talk about it anymore because last time I did something happened to them. So, but no, they're doing great. They're doing great. I just now want German chocolate cake though. So,
which one?
The Porsche.
Good for you.
It's German chocolate cake. It's a Porsche. It's German. It's brown. It's got the little light brown on the front, which is like the little coconut thing. That's what I think it is.
Mix it up. Okay, cool.
That's what I think it is. That's what I'm calling it. It's a German chocolate cake car. I don't care what anyone says. That's what I'm calling it.
Perfect. We have seen a bit of traffic and also some cars beside it, just a bit kind of yellow. Hopefully the cars are still running. I think it was kind of a 417, which I can barely see from my eyes there. I probably have to watch my glasses again. The track map is full, that's what we can say, and everybody is trying to fight for places, even though we still have 35 minutes. So it's sometimes about saving the tires, but others are really pushing hard, where the gap is also closing by. Even the 12th position, which is the car 20 again, Wild Things Racing, Sim Hound, Alex Cordo, in the pair with Colby Bradford now in the car. They are close together, and here still Tom is just navigating through traffic on the 19th place. Probably also nothing where he wants to be, sitting in quite long, but chasing down Lisa Louise in the M4 GT3 for Wild Things Racing HFG. So probably there's the next point where they have the chance to meet each other on track. But Blue Flags is out. I mean, they are just chasing down even the lapped cars. So this is kind of interesting to see. And now we go back to another car, which is Matthias Freitas. I haven't not seen him in a while, but he's also together with this kind of teammate, Matthias Nolli. They have the same name, which is pretty good. So if you shout at Matthias, they all look at, it's me.
That's funny.
Exactly.
That's funny. So I'm going to say something controversial, and we'll see if we survive it in the next 34 minutes. But we've actually had very few retirements in this race, which I think is fantastic. Like, we haven't had the big classic public lobby explosion of cars or other things, which I think is great. Like, it shows kind of the caliber of the drivers that we have in the field, but also how seriously a lot of these folks have been taking the racing, which is what attracted me to sim racing in the first place. Right? Like, I like a good competition. I like a good race. I like it when the drivers respect each other. I want to have fun, right? And I don't want to just get run off the road every 5 seconds. And we've all had that public lobby experience at least one time, and it is not fun, right? But I'm hoping that these people are having lots of fun, because we've had some really great races and, seen some really good battles the last 90 minutes. So
exactly. So that's pretty good that we don't have any kind of hiccups there, and hopefully there won't be any.
If there are any, it is all my fault, and I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I was just having a good time. I'm sorry.
That's the most important thing, that everybody survives through and they just enjoy what they do. I mean, we have some cars who are kind of bit of a beaten up, but they still run, which is good. Yeah. So we can't complain about that. The next cake car is Ridian Lloyd Davis, and they're close together now. So
this is not like a birthday cake car. This kind of reminds me of birthday cake. Yeah.
And we have Simon a bit of off track here on that sense. And also we had seen the 417 Smooth Ups Racing with Luis Argitzu a bit of having a traffic problem. But I think now they're just all back on track, which is kind of good. And we still have pairs on the track where they are close together. But some of them have really huge gaps where you think if you have 12 to 15 seconds, sometimes you can't even close them unless somebody is making a mistake.
Yep, that's definitely for sure. I mean, I think when you look at sometimes the difference in lap time between some of the cars, it does build up a little bit over time, right? But at the same time, sometimes when you have a too big of a gap, you sometimes get a little sloppy. So it's important to kind of keep focused and keep pushing because, you know, I've been there where I've thrown races away when I had a huge margin and then I just dropped a tire for no reason. Like, had a 15-second gap on the guy in front of me, could have just driven home, nobody's business, and then I would stop paying attention and drove right off the road for no reason. And that spin cost me all the work I did. So, you know, these guys still need to kind of stay on top of it because just because they have a gap now doesn't mean they will later.
Exactly. But what we can say that the Porsche are close together. I think they want to make a trio, but they have to get rid of the Aston Martin in the way. But I think that yeah, Arthur has a say to that, and he just wants to have his place, which is the 16th right now, with the number 40. Yeah, so Jose Arthur, I think he just Jose, I think that's his name, doesn't want to give up the space. But yeah, let's see what the Porsche can do. And we have seen some spin-offs from some cars, and also the Aston Martin was the one we have seen in the replay. I know the Bentley, I'm sorry. So the thing is that if you sometimes, and this is again when we come to the Silverstone classy track map, I mean, if you try to unbalance the car in some corners, which is pretty easy, and yeah, push too far, it can happen so easily. Sometimes you just even, and as we spoke before, you don't recognize that there can be some mistakes coming up, and you just, as you also mentioned right now, just throw the race away in the middle of where you think like, I just can make it. And this is also when you are in the lead. You have to now be completely precise. I mean, we know that the team of Timea Benchik and Filipa Bukida are just doing a fantastic and stellar job with 26 sevens on top of Janek Roof. But you have to be focused right now. You think like, oh, now it's just 30 minutes. I can do this. But still, there can be so many problems if there is a tiny mistake with the person in front of you, even getting a blue flag. But we have to say, the blue flag guys, I mean, they just really do a brilliant job to just get out of the way quite easily.
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's funny too because I think the first thing you said is super crucial, right? Like you can have a 30-second gap and then put the car on the wall and then it's all over. And so it's important to make sure that you really stay focused and precise the whole time because it's not over until the race is actually over. And so, you know, their execution since the beginning of this race has been fantastic. And if they keep that up, they're just going to do a great job, right? But they got to finish the job. So, and a lot of people are in those sort of positions, right? Like, that's why whenever you're in a race, you still have hope the race may come back to you because some people do a great job until like the last lap. And then all of a sudden it just turns upside down, right?
Exactly.
So you never know. It's never over till it's over.
Yeah, this is sometimes the problem. You just have to finish first, and first you have to finish. That's the point.
Yeah.
And this is the classy word to say, but it's actually how it is. And also what you can say, Lukas Lichten, he had kind of a fun race before with chasing down other cars, and now he's looking at Oscar Sandberg in front of him. He cleared his drive-through, and still the gap melted to 1.2 seconds. So this is not an easy way because in the back we can also see that Wild Things Racing Epics with Del Young is flying by. So yeah, it's getting interesting in fighting for fourth place. Where Lukas Lichten now had a problem with getting off track. As easy as you can get. So now he was chasing down, and now he's the person who has to defend the line. So just a tiny issue, and then you just lose the place.
Right, but there's a perfect example, right? Like he was within a second and a half and only dropped off by a little bit, and now the gap has doubled. Right, and so you still have to kind of be consistent and stay on top of it, and the littlest margins can turn the race upside down. That doesn't mean it won't go back the other way, right? Like I'm not wishing ill on anyone, but you know Lucas has to keep pushing so that he stays close to Oscar, because if Oscar has a little bit of a moment, he can get close again. It's important to stay on top of it. No, he's doing a great job.
Exactly, and also what we see here from Josiah Farrow, he's also quite good in being on the 8th position with the McLaren, so he's holding high the flag for the McLaren squad. Yeah, that's pretty important because we have 4 in the top 10. Yeah. But yeah, the 199 is also doing a fantastic job, and also the 198, so they're close together in terms of coming from the back of the field and pushing their way through. So yeah. It's not an easy wave, but Fabi Fabek, I think he has all the thumbs up, and he will send it, that's for sure. And we have some other cars who are just really doing a great job. And you see the Porsche get together. They made it. Now all 3 Porsche have found each other at least.
No, it's like the dessert trio. Oh my God, they just want to starve me. That's what's happening. It's a conspiracy again.
See how that goes. Yeah, now we have to. Fantastic, huh?
I didn't bring desserts to this race. This is not fair.
Yeah, but you see how far it can go, and Ben Brown is having a bit of a slight touch and issue with his car. I mean, the Aston Martin is a bit tricky to drive, as I feel. Have you driven this car already in one of the races?
Not the first gen Aston Martin. I've driven the second gen Aston Martin, but not the V12. It sounds amazing. Just isn't a car I haven't driven yet. But I've seen other people drive it, and it does seem like it can be a little temperamental and high speed. But I don't have a lot of seat time with it, to be honest.
Yeah, but Rudy Lloyd Davis in front of it, he thinks like, oh well, maybe my Porsche is a bit torn, but hopefully I can hold this because the Aston is pushing quite hard. The gap is also 0.5 seconds, so 17th place is in a bit of a risk because, yeah, now he's made a good job to just close up to the other Porsche, but now he's just getting a bit of a problem with, traffic. In that sense, Ben Brown is pushing crazy for his Ownit Racing B22R team, and he's alone, so he has driven most of the time now. Actually, he must be exhausted, but he isn't. He's on fire, because that's also the little tiny flame when you are driving 1 hour and you have kind of a mediocre race, and then you find someone who you can really bite your nails into. You just
Oh, definitely. Oh, it's getting close there. It's funny. You nailed it there with like racers when they get the fire lit underneath them when they see the chance of a battle, right? Like, it might seem fun to have a big gap of 50 seconds to the car in front of you, and in a way it can be fun, but racers want to race. They want to fight. And so it doesn't really matter whether we're in first place or 15th place. If there's a battle that we can be in, we'd rather be in that, right? And so I'm sure he's having the time of his life just trying to get close to that Porsche.
Of course, and sometimes you don't even know how fast the time flies because you just can go forever as you want to finish the race, and even sometimes you just want to have more lap times and even more minutes to just get one more lap done to just overtake. In the slipstream, hanging Josiah Farrow, really a smart one, trying to get more of the clean air, probably at least some, if he can overtake the Mercedes, but right now just sitting in the dirty air, but ducking in there because the Mercedes is quite a big one. Yep. But there is no chance for him at this moment to overtake, because of course we are talking about now the top 10, which is brilliant driving throughout the race, and all the others are trying really also perfectly well. But here it's about the tiny little, it's millimeters, nanometers, where you find this kind of spot where someone doesn't take it.
Yeah, it's such a fast track, right? So you rarely get an opportunity to really have a big change in speed between the cars without something else affecting it. So, in the top 10 especially, I'm sure they're just trying to rush between lapped cars. And, if you're leading, you're hoping their lap car doesn't slow you up in a weird place. And if you're chasing, you're hoping the lap car slows up the guy you're chasing enough that you can get by. And then hopefully you don't get slowed up. So, because these guys are pushing really hard.
Yeah, and the Advanced Sim Racing, that's how the team is called, but it has now swapped to Duelis M Sport. Josiah Farrow is actually quite doing a nice job, and also brilliant stellar race. Kudos to everyone, that's what we can definitely say. Where Derek Smith from Road to Glory had a bit of a spin-off being yellow. They now find themselves in again the overlapping, but what we can say, most of them are pretty brilliant drivers in terms of navigating even through that kind of traffic, although some, as we've seen before, the Audi get bumped a bit out of the way, but it was a slight touch, which was nice. But looking at our leader Timea Benchik, RAG from the beginning, they nailed it in the first corner. Of course with a lack of dropping the internet, unfortunately, for the 88. This was fantastic throughout the race. I haven't seen a problem with them. Nothing.
But I'm not shocked. When you talk about premier execution, RHG is one of the premier esports teams, right? So those guys really know how to get the job done. It's that speed is not surprising.
I think depending on, do you know actually how long it was announced, how long they could train?
Oh, you mean how long the practice server was up beforehand? Oh,
yeah, for the race.
It was only a couple of days. We didn't have our server up for very long. So, they've really got their act together in a very short period of time. And, really kind of got themselves lined up for, really good performance in a very brief period. I'm sure most of the folks here have driven Silverstone before. It's one of the reasons we picked the track, right? Because there are some tracks you just haven't driven very often, right? But still, you still need to prep. You still need to, just do the laps. You still need to have a strategy. You still need to execute the strategy. And REG, when I saw them on the entry list, I was like, they will fight for the win of the race. That was not a doubt in my mind.
Yeah, that's for sure. And great. I mean, if we have picked a completely different track, maybe that would be a more surprise. But still, as we know, some of them are anyway 24/7 sitting in the sim, not getting out of it. They're pretty stable.
Well,
and even though,
I was just thankful that teams like REG and Turn One and Team Cake all came to run the event, right? Because it's a great example of what good driving looks like. Right, we have these high-level talents that are performing at a really high level, and it not only for the people watching in the stream, but for the other racers in the race, you can see what's possible. The other McLaren drivers will see how their RG's performing in the McLaren and say, "That's how fast the McLaren can go. That's how fast eventually I can go," which is great, right? It gives them something to shoot for, so that's awesome.
Yeah, and Shankar is just driving his heart out because he's still fighting for everything in his Ferrari and actually sitting in the 28th place. Also being kind of, good in terms of watching the mirrors and being precise on that. So he had a fun time driving alone. Kind of a hectic race, I guess, for him, I would say. But yeah, great to see that. And unfortunately, we see that the 20 car, I mean, this is Wild Things Racing Simhound, which is really unfortunate that they had with Colby Bradford. Now they drive through sitting in that place. Yeah, dropping down. This is where I think now maybe some having these kind of issues, if they just slightly miss it and get some penalties collected together. But we also have seen that we had not so many penalties throughout the race, and also actually that we had not so many incidents, which is also quite good. And I really like the flavor of the race, and although we see some pushing, which is fine, racing rubbing, that's completely great to see. But also people have no chance to overtake for whatsoever. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, this battle between Josiah it's been close, just hammering tongs for the last 5 minutes. I've been watching it intently because it has been touch and go here and there, but you had mentioned this earlier. I wanted to give Shankar a shout out because he's relatively new to sim racing, and he just never gives up. I've seen him race in other leagues, and the one thing I really like about him is that it does not matter what happens to him in the race. Like, he could get spun around 50 times, and I'll watch him get to the end of the race, which is a trait that I wish more racers had when things don't go their way immediately. Right? Yeah. He will do well over time because his persistence will help him. Right? And I think that's a skill that a lot of racers pick up over time, that like you're going to have more losses than wins when you race, right? I tell people jokingly that like Fernando Alonso has a 15% win rate, and he's like one of the most successful drivers of all time, right? Yeah. But he's lost more races than he's won. So you have to go through and really just be patient and, just kind of give it time. Yeah. Oh no. I missed something in the replay, but somebody was in the wall.
No, it was actually the replay from Colby Bradford where he had this kind of spin-off, and this is where probably that caused the drive-through, unfortunately for him. But the Porsche anyway are split between now with the Bentley being in that sense. But hopefully they get it done and then come back still fighting until the end of the race. And this is again what you just mentioned at this point, this fighter mentality and this positivity actually also as well, to say although it might be frustrating, it's just you have to finish the job. It doesn't matter if it's a sim race, although you might not be paid for that, right? But this is your inner force saying, I can't finish this without not having at least tried. Although, I mean, if the car is completely wrecked, there's nothing much you can do. But also what we've seen in endurance races, even if you sit there for 2 hours having a tow time or repairing, and you just can't race for 2 hours, you come back in an endurance race and you just lost like say 22 laps or even more. You think it's kind of a hopeless, but you never know what the other teams have problems in the end, and you just maybe get some points. And this is why I really like it, that there is no kind of negativity in that sense. And also afterwards, if you had a hard time with fighting with someone on track, you just have a good word in the end and say, well, this was not what I actually wanted, or I'm sorry, and then this is fine. You don't have this hate going on forever.
Well, most racers are racing with positive intent, right? Like I very rarely have met a racer that is intrinsically malicious, right? We're just pushing hard and pushing the limits, and sometimes we trip over each other, and it's like no one came out to get anybody, right? It's one of the reasons I like sim racing so much. But it can be frustrating, right? Because you put in effort and they put in effort, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And so, it's always good to talk with the guys or talk with another racer if you do get into an incident and say, hey, man, I apologize. Like, didn't mean to ruin your day. I got my day ruined too, but, I'm sorry. And then we just move on. So
Exactly, yeah. Pushing is another word which is Josiah Farrow trying to do with our SG Stern drivers, but it doesn't help. I mean, I think they have just completely taped their mirrors, the back mirrors. They just don't look back.
Yeah, he definitely folded his mirrors and has blinders on, because I would not want to be looking at that McLaren right now. It's definitely trying hard to stay with them.
Exactly, and also what we can say, these drivers are, and also Neil Hansen, if I just correctly checked the profiles, they are 16, and Fabian, I guess, is also a quite young one, if I'm not mistaken. So it's also great to see that the young ones, and this is what we always try to do, bring even young people into the sport, that they are even so cool driving long distance races with the age of 12, also 13, 14 already starting that like pros, because they know by heart how to do that. And it's even if they're, it's getting interesting right now.
I know, it's like there's a battle happening.
Well, it's still not working.
But he's trying.
That's true. I think Fabi has enough kudos, so the chat is voting. So
well, his defensive drive has been fantastic. He's just been putting the car in the perfect place to keep Josiah back without getting in his way. He's not really particularly parking it on the apex or anything like, shady. Yeah. He's just putting it in the place that cuts off Josiah's line so that he can't get a run anywhere, which is exactly what you should do. So, I mean, fantastic driving. Fantastic.
Yeah, for hours. Kind of.
For hours.
It feels like, right?
Yeah. And these are the battles you want to see, right? You want to see two drivers fighting over each other's lines, cutting off the other ones without wrecking the other person's car. That's a battle, right? And so it's good to see racing like this for such a long period, because it is possible, right? And it's good to show it to other people that it's a thing you can do. Definitely a thing you can do.
And also when you just talk about your coaching, which you did, it's the same thing, right? You just try to at least give them this kind of, it is possible if you just have your head down and you can do it clean.
Yeah, you definitely can. And Josiah is also showing that you can be aggressive without being insane, right? Like he's pushing really hard and he's definitely attacking him, but he's not taking such an undue risk that he's just going to drive into his door, because that ruins both their races, right? So, he's pushing hard, but look at him. He's standing right on the inside, just cutting off that inside line, cutting off his exit, and then he's going to open the steering up and just, perfect. Right? Opens the steering up perfect and just cuts off that exit line so that he can't get a run as he's going down. Yeah, fantastic driving. It's
pretty good to see that, and also when they go back down to the club corner and then into the Hamilton straight. I mean, this is nice that they can do this for hours and even for rounds, and even there is no kind of slightly oversteer, understeer. They are just getting a bit maybe in the dirt, but still also all managed in that sense. So I think that they had a good training, and it's a mentality thing. Yeah, I think that's psychological games they sometimes do. It doesn't help, because in that sense, I mean, what should you do if you just try to be Josiah? The only thing is either you do it clean, or you just completely find another way and say I outbreak them. But then, as we know, most of these games which you try to do on track not work. Yeah. So I think predictably this is going to end, because I mean we have now only nearly 30 minutes in this race. And they are close together for now, let's say half an hour. I'm probably sure that's even more. And there is no way what they can, or what Josiah can further do. So I try, he's maybe, at one point you say, okay, well, it doesn't help. My tires are maybe ruined. I just give it a go and leave it and be in 8th place.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too, because he keeps trying to attack going into turn 13, which, I get what his approach is. He's trying to stay to the outside and keep Fabi on the inside, but he just can't get a run around such a sharp corner to do anything with it. And so, his intent from where he's putting the car is maybe I can outbrake him and get stopped before Fabi turns, but he just travels too much distance for it to work, right? So you can see when he goes through the first sector, he can really catch back up because he's got, McLaren aero powers, right? But he's using his brakes in what I would think to be a weird place, because it's not really where the McLaren's strength is. It doesn't do low end torque very well. It doesn't do low speed corners super great. So, maybe going into Stowe the next time, might try to force a move there. Might try, I don't know, maybe a club to Abbey run, maybe, right? But on the brakes against the Mercedes that has all that grunt, I don't think so.
It's a hard time.
Especially with the driver of Fabi's character, caliber, right? He knows where to put his car. He's not going to make a mistake and just all of a sudden stumble away, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. There is no chance that this is only if there's really like a hiccup with something else, and they just have a bit of a time where they get some other cars where they try to overlap. But I think if it goes like this, probably we see exactly like that. Fabi
like this, no, for sure. Yeah. But you see, this time he didn't try to attack into 13, and he's much closer. Right, the amount of time he lost when he tried to attack in the 13 the lap before, he had to get all back again on the following lap. So if he can just kind of time when he attacked, he might have more success than just attacking when he gets to the car in front. And that's a hard thing to do because, like, from a racer perspective, you want to get around the car as soon as you get there. But from a strategic perspective, you need to wait until you have a absolute advantage. And that is really hard in a battle like this, right? Because it may not appear until the last 30 seconds of this race, right?
Exactly.
And that's hard. That's really hard. You don't know what's going to happen. So you have to just kind of hold your cards close and wait for an opportunity, and that opportunity may not show up. Right?
Or what we have sometimes seen, even it's really the last corner where something is happening, and you just can't believe it that this is going to be taken away from you at the finish straight, right?
Yes, I'm having PTSD from the description you were giving me. Yes, exactly. Yes. So totally. Yes. But it's a great battle, and they're really you're seeing the strength of these two different cars really stand out, right? The Mercedes is really good at slow speed stuff. The McLaren is really good at high speed stuff. Fabi is really good at defense, and Josiah is on the attack. So you have a dynamic battle going back and forth. It's very similar to actually what we had Ruoff and Eric doing just a little while ago, and I think they're doing now. So I think both Mercedes and McLaren are natural enemies right now.
Yes, I think so. They find each other on track like
exactly. Definitely a thing.
Well, we can say, I mean, the gaps are kind of these ones close together, but the rest has completely been played out in terms of what is possible. So 30 seconds between Timea Benchik and Yannick Ruoff. I think there is nothing going to happen if it's really not worse. I mean, there afterwards, it could be a bit close because Eric Neville is kind of sitting there 0.6 seconds behind. But then Oscar Sandberg is also in fourth place, kind of cemented into stone because 2.8 seconds behind is Lukas Lichten. So they have a little bit of gap, and Daryl Young also in that Fabi, and this is the next one. So I think that top 10 might be kind of settled if we don't see our lovely battle here not turning into a positive surprise, because Eric, I guess he can't stand it anymore looking at the same tail all the time.
Yeah, but here's the backmarker here's the backmarker potentially getting involved in the battle with Josiah and Fabi, right? Which these are the things that if you're Josiah, you're waiting for desperately, right? Anything to slow Fabi up is going to be a blessing, right? Anything to get him offline, anything, right? And so, fortunately, I think that was Shankar did a great job at kind of staying out of the way, but if you're Josiah, you want him to just stay in the way just a little bit.
What we also sometimes see in crazy situations where you have exactly like this, a blue flagged car in the middle and you just overtake from the outside.
Yep.
They just can't expect it, but then you have to carry so much speed and don't make a mistake, and this is probably quite tricky here still, because you have to find your braking point at one time. So even if he's now really close sitting on his tail, he just tries to avoid a contact, also like really nice that they don't want to push each other off track. And there are still 8 minutes to go, so the time is dropping, not playing in favor for the number 16's car, Josiah Farrow.
So Josiah
not in his favor.
Josiah is my friend, but I've become a Fabi fan over the course of the race. So now I'm having a hard time. Like, I'm just conflicted now, because I've seen really great driving from somebody I've just met, and then I also see really great driving from somebody I know. So I'm like, oh no, what do we do now?
Exactly. Give them both a podium, huh?
Everyone gets a trophy. Everyone gets one.
Everyone
gets one.
I think that is done easy. That is just an even one, and we are just giving everybody something. I like about that.
There you go. Everybody gets cake. Everybody gets cake.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good. We should call them maybe the headquarter. Just
there you go.
Prepare the cupcakes. Yeah.
There you go. Everyone gets cupcakes. That's going to be my new thing. I'll become FIA president, and I'll just give everyone cupcakes after races. That's exactly what will happen. No more trophies. Cupcakes for everybody. That's how it'll work.
Let's do this.
Oh my god, I'm trying to be fine. I'm sure they won't have a problem with that.
I don't think so. No.
What could
just
go
an extra
wrong?
drop on that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I saved all the money on cupcakes so that we don't need trophies anymore. We all got sweets.
Yeah, and at least you just have to even hydrate and also just get some more intake in terms of calories after such a race. I mean, this is exhausting. So
exactly.
Totally.
Everyone gets water and cupcakes. Everything's
Totally
fine.
agree.
Everything's fine.
I think Chad has found his Fabi Sendit famous club. So I think most of them predict like what we think, that this is gonna be the outcome of this race. But we still have 7 minutes, so maybe there is a miracle. Let's see.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of cars. There's the 19 that's in front of, or the 20 that's in front of them, I think. Bradford, they're coming up on lap traffic there. A few other cars that could, this is a battle of inches. Right, and what Josada has to do is keep us cool and not get caught up if Fabi gets caught out, right? And what Fabi's trying to do is he's trying to manage the car in front and the car in behind, because he needs to make himself aware to the car he's lapping to not get in my way, right? Yep, to not get in my way, but at the same time not open a door because he's being so pronounced to this lap car that he lets Josiah through. So he's got to defend both the front and the rear of his car. It's definitely a lot of work. He's fighting like hell. That's some really good driving.
And exactly the same thing is what maybe think people are like, oh my gosh, this is not really happening. Because if we talk about how the race was after the pit stop, which is 1 hour ago, kind of, now we see that Oscar Zandberg has just moved up. He is just close on the tail to Eric Neville, and he is close on the tail to Yannick Ruoff. So it's also not completely clear of what the podium situation is, 2 or 3, and then maybe there's another player in the game. So let's see if there's a chance to. I mean, who is the McLaren fan and who is the Mercedes fan crowd on there in the chat? Please just raise your hands.
Yeah, it's McLaren versus Mercedes right now. We need to know.
Yeah, we need some fan base here.
Right? I think they both have Mercedes engines in them, but one's in the front and one's in the back. So now we need to figure this out.
In terms of design, also this is what.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we got 1 vote for Merck in the chat, so McLaren fans have to step it up.
Oh, yeah. It's 2 already. Just two votes to the. I mean, just this one, and we just calculated together. But
no, you can't just have 1 vote and call it a win. That's not fair. The poll wasn't 10 seconds.
No, I mean, now we have 2 votes because Flash was saying merge. This is just 1. Now we have the second one is 2, but we missed some McLaren fans. Come on, guys.
Yeah, no, exactly, right? Yeah. McLaren's are trying so hard. Come on. McLaren's leading right now.
Yeah, and it is kind of frustrating because you miss this kind of last push to just have the Mercedes power kind of nailed down, and then they can say there's a Bob. It's Bob's fault.
Clearly, you've been racing long enough. Yes, if Josiah doesn't pass, it's Bob's fault. And if he gets past, then Fabi will say the Bob was bad. Yep.
Exactly. Right? It's all done.
That's
I think we are good predictors of that race.
Yeah,
right?
Clearly. Well, at least we give them the excuses ahead of time, so when the race is over, they know what to say.
Yeah, hopefully they know before they go into the interview situation, right? So maybe.
Haven't said to say this. Just read what he said. It's okay.
But as you see how tricky it is now, where they're racing full speed and still the Porsche tried to get out of the way and then just be invisible. So this is even they don't. This is what you. I mean, you have to just have a great vision all over the track and just completely ignore the ones you have to overtake, because there is no time of just saying, okay, I go left and right. I just have to go. Through it.
Yeah, and you have to also make sure you're just tuning out the back markers behind you, because sometimes you'll pass a car that will outbrake himself because he doesn't know where he is, and you have to just be like, I didn't just get run into there. I didn't almost get run into there. Nothing's happening. I'm just focusing forward, right? And that requires a lot of focus because, those cars are still cars, right? Those cars can still hit you, so you need to be careful.
Exactly. Although we are just now like 10 minutes in this battle because it's so close together, we just want to have to say that this race was fantastic in terms of driving standards. So actually everybody has done a great job so far. That's what we can definitely say. Although where they're fighting across the track, pretty clean, good racing. We had not so many incidents, and those ones recovered well from them. So this is a good recap of this one. And just 2 laps. I mean, how fast is that over? It was so amazing that we just talked about so many stuff. Is there something we have missed to talk about in this Driven by Diversity?
Oh man,
2 hours.
I don't think so. But oh my god, I think we have a battle here. I don't think I even have time to talk about anything because Josiah's slipstreaming.
the merger is just.
Oh, is he gonna get the cut? Is he gonna get the cut? Is he gonna get the cut? Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? Oh, this is gonna be close. It's gonna be close.
They always try, but they're side by side. And always the advantage is then the Mercedes knows where the corner is.
Right, exactly. And where he gets by is on medium and slow speed, so he can't drive around the outside of him. He can only get next to him.
Yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be so close.
Oh. It's interesting. There is no chance actually, because they know definitely where to position the car on track. So even it doesn't matter if you just come close. You just have to make the move in the corner you get the opportunity to. But there is no way that Fabi is just letting him be giving the advantage. Let's see, like this. Now he's just putting it on the left side. So there, this is my corner definitely. Even no matter what he does.
Yeah, that Sasha curve hadn't been there, right? Like that was smart because Josiah tried to do an undercut but got blocked by a little Sasha's cart wall. Like, oh, that's fantastic defensive drive. I need to start taking notes. That's some great defensive driving there.
I think we get some. I mean, can we just get Fabi on coaching? So,
right?
Fabi, if you hear this, you just need to coach.
Right?
So, yeah.
Public service announcement. Defensive driving coach right here.
Exactly.
I need an adult racing. Like he's doing great, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But
I mean, of course, that's why they picked him for this team.
Yeah, that's for sure. For sure. He's just like a giant iron wall. Like I don't know how to explain it. He's just doing a great job.
No, it's amazing. And also we see the other ones on the split screen, but is there something we have missed? I mean, Timia Benchik, for sure. This is the lead from the beginning with Filipa Bukida. Amazing drive. We don't want to underestimate this drive, being flawless, having no mistakes, making a good strategy and making the right points. And they are racing a McLaren. Guys, girls, see that?
Josiah dropped the thing and that right in the traffic, right? Now Fabi's got a gap. That's going to be really hard. Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Great for Fabi. I mean, I'm happy for him, but like I'm also heartbroken for Josiah. That's battle of inches. Yeah,
and look, we see our Honda. This is nice. Also some cars we haven't seen so far. This is good to see that some others are on the track, but we are now in the last seconds of this race and it's already closely over, where we don't want to miss the win for our furious ladies from RAC Esports, number 8, Timia Benchik and Filipa Bukida in the McLaren 720 SPT3 here in Silverstone. Do we? Ooh. Amazing.
I was going to answer your question, though. I think the one thing I will repeat is just a thanks to all the drivers and teams that have participated. So, is there a battle for a second? Yeah.
We have finished the race more or less, but there are still battles on track. Also P2, this is what we have seen in the last minutes. Always the fight between Mercedes and McLaren. There we have it in the split screen mode. Eric Neville, is he just having a chance to overtake Yannick Roof? I don't think so, because this is what we have seen the last times all throughout it. It's hard to beat the Mercedes, and we will see that, what's gonna happen, but the problem is, I would say it keeps like that way.
Probably, but I think we're becoming experts at Mercedes, McLaren conflicts.
Yeah, even though the traffic is already just really trying to erase themselves, so we just have the checkered flag, and this is the race win in our Driven by Diversity 2 hours race for Timia Benchik and Filipa Bukida. Kudos goes out to this team, RAC Esports, where we have in closely contact with Oscar, driving now in 5th position. He has dropped down because there is no chance that they make it away, but he has crossed the line and also closely. But we look at the 2nd place, and there's a drop. No, Oscar lost it. No way, this can't be happening in the last corner. Oh my god. This is dropping him again more places down, but we can definitely say that the finish after the number 8 car is the 209.7, which is Yannick Ruoff, who is finishing in front of Eric Neville. And then we look down to our famous battle again, where we have it happening, where then Mercedes is just in front of Josiah Farrow, where also the McLaren is just like completely furious. But they just have a fun time out on track, and they're still fighting hard for each other.
Yeah, he's back. This battle started again.
Yeah. I
thought it was over, and then it restarted.
Yeah, we still have some drivers on track which have to finish then, and they are just fighting for this. But Oscar's back drop down to 6th position, because then now we have the number, which one is it? This is the 87, Daryl Young. He has finished the race now, and this is where we definitely see then a replay, not again, of what happened to Oscar Sandbeck. It was just a slight touch then here. And then he lost it, I guess.
Yeah.
What a pity. Fighting really well. Yeah, they were just kind of fine, and then this was this kind of tiny little touch, and then this was the sausage curb kind of move.
Yeah, it's so heartbreaking too. I mean, props for Fabi because he finished in the top 6, but that's just what we were talking about, right? In the last 30 seconds of the race, Fabi went from 7th to 6th.
Yeah, just kind of if you just lose it for a tiny little bit and you just push too hard, and this is just happening, this is heartbreaking because that's actually what you want to have. Yeah.
Such a shame.
That's our race. I mean, heartbreaking, but it was fun though. But
oh no, he ran out of fuel. Oh no. That's why he was sitting there in the last corner.
Sometimes. Oh
no.
This is what you can't believe, right? No. You just planned for everything. You think you had just got it, and then this is the worst thing, and just happened to me. I can say this is what I also had one time, running out of fuel in the last minutes. This was kind of a nightmare.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh man.
Thanks for watching. We definitely see that.
Someone help him.
Push him. That's
push him.
Nice
yes. There you go. Push him back. He needs help. Put it in first. Bump start him. Oh no.
Yeah. It was a great race. That's what definitely can say. It was amazing to have all the drivers fighting so furious on track. And we can say that kudos to our podium, which we have already announced, which is Timea Benchik with Filip Abukida in the first place, the 297, which is Yannick Ruoff, and then we have the 124, which is Eric Neuville, together with his teammate in the 124/7 car, Peter O'Brien, fighting really hard. And we see the funny start which we had until we wait for the people to drop in for the final interviews, and afterwards we have Lucas Lichten, who then definitely made it with the Bentley
MVP
with his Team Iris car to the 4th place. How is that about that?
Yeah, right. MVP.
Daryl Young then with the 87, he is driving for Wild Things Racing. Apex GG with Aurelian Cross then finished the line.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. We're hearing to our comms because we have unfortunately our drivers in another channel, so we're just trying to wrap up the race. But I just wanted to finish the top 10 because this is what definitely was great to see, the drive between Fabian Fabeck, who was fighting crazy because Josiah Farrow just pushed so hard, but also couldn't make it, then still in the 7th place. But crazy drive from them. Also AJ Jones with their 101 in the Bentley, perfectly drive for turn 1 racing with Brian van Beuzekom in the 1st place. And also we had Joost Leune with the 37 car, half practice hero. He was driving all alone, so we had also some of the drivers driving alone, making a stellar race. And then unfortunately Oscar Sandbeck running out of fuel, still in 10th place. But I just want to give you the opportunity to make a nice wrap up and give some more insights of why we are having this great series driven by diversity, because I have to say thanks to Devin Sturdivant. He was just amazing team partner tonight, and what a race. And your final results for today.
Well, can I just give a public shout out to everyone who just pushed Oscar across the line when he ran out of fuel? That was the best thing I've ever seen in sim racing ever. Rather than leaving him stranded, they pushed him across the line so he could make it on his own. That is so nice. You guys are great. But yeah, man. Well, I guess I'll say really, I really do appreciate everyone showing up, right? I get that motorsports can be hard, and I get that racing can be hard, and I get that it's, everyone dedicated a lot of their time this weekend and the week heading up to get ready for this event, and we had a really, really great race. The outcome of this race will affect more change than they realize, because we will take the stream and take the attendance and share it with other people and say, this is what happens when people really care about something. You should come and be a part of this. Right, so I really do sincerely appreciate everyone who showed up, and I want to give thanks to the SimGrid and Coach Dave Academy for all their help getting things started, Navigate Partners and Init Esports for all their promotional help, And, you know, all the attendees that showed up. I mean, I know I said I knew like half the field, but I really do mean it that they showed up, and because I asked. So thank you for everybody that came and attended. This has been great.
Perfect. And if you ever wondered of how you can join, probably there will be some other races where you can definitely do this. And also, I guess this will return because we try to bring this sport more to everybody else who wants to actually try it, wants to race with the pros, have nice battles, and learn and share this passion with everybody out on the grid. So unfortunately we can't hear the voices, but probably what we can definitely ask for, if the teammates just punch their drivers to watch the replay, then they can just give some more exposure on how they felt about the race on their social media channels. So we would love to hear about every race and every voice of how they felt this race to play out for them. And they will definitely can say the drivers had fun, we had fun. I just really want to thank you, Devin. It was a great time. Thanks also for Mike and also all the productions in the back to give us these nice pictures. And last famous words for you, because I just already want to say thanks and bye-bye. And Devin, this is your kind of wrap up.
No, I really mean it. Thanks for all your help, man. I couldn't do this without your help too. So you've been great and make 2 hours go by super, super fast. So anytime you need another help with commentary, I'm happy to jump in with you because you're awesome. This has been great.